Chapter 1235. Immerse was already done with his shower. So, as he walked into the master bedroom, he carried Xingzhe and watched as Yao Anqi walked into the bathroom with a bathrobe. He felt a little uncomfortable. Luckily, Xingzhe was very understanding. Knowing that his father was a little shy, he grabbed onto the back of his hand. Immerse placed Xingzhe in the middle of the bed and sang a lullaby to coax his son to sleep. To him, his son was the most important thing that night. But he had completely underestimated Yao Anqi's figure. After her shower, Yao Anqi walked out of the bathroom in a bathrobe. But Immerse could still sense how mature and alluring her body was underneath the bathrobe. So, he quickly averted his gaze and looked at Xingzhe's bed. Yao Anqi walked over to the vanity and wiped her face like there was no one around. But as the bathrobe slid down her legs were exposed to Immerse's gaze. Immerse felt a little helpless, so he reminded her, can you pull the bathrobe up properly? Yao Anqi was a little surprised as she looked down at her clothes. She didn't think there was anything wrong with it. I'm a healthy, mature man, Immerse immediately explained. Because Yao Anqi was a doctor, she wasn't surprised by this. So, she did not avoid Immerse. Since Immerse had a problem with it, she still pulled the bathrobe up. Afterwards, Yao Anqi lay down on the bed and looked through the surgery schedule for the next day. Meanwhile, after coaxing Xingzhe to sleep, Immerse felt a little awkward. But he still walked over to the bed, pulled aside the blankets, and lay down beside Yao Anqi. Good night. Yao Anqi did not say a word to Immerse. Instead, she put down the documents in her hands, lay down, and turned off the bedside lamp. Immerse also turned off the lamp. In the dark, neither of them spoke a word. All that could be heard was the sound of steady breathing. Beside him, Yao Anqi's fragrance wafted into his nose. Immerse felt a sense of familiarity. That night 4 years ago, even though they were both drunk, at this moment, the familiar scent filled his nostrils, and Immerse felt his body heat up. So, he subconsciously distanced himself from Yao Anqi so she wouldn't discover this awkward truth. Actually, Yao Anqi knew that night and remembered it clearly. Now that the same man was sleeping next to her, she didn't feel sleepy at all. Zishi, Yao Anqi suddenly shouted. Immerse immediately responded, Why aren't you asleep yet? I can't sleep, Yao Anqi replied. Maybe it's because I'm not used to someone suddenly lying next to me. Should I sleep on the sofa outside? Immerse asked. There's no need. I'll get used to it sooner or later anyway. After speaking, Yao Anqi did not continue, and Immerse did not return to the sofa like he had said. It wasn't easy for him to sneak into the master bedroom. How could he leave so easily? Now, Xingzhe was sleeping in a small bed, while the woman that he had let down for 4 years was lying on a large bed. This time, no matter what, he wasn't going to leave. So, in the dark, Immerse stretched out his hand and placed it on Yao Anqi's waist. Surprisingly, Yao Anqi did not reject him. This seemed to be a kind of tacit understanding, as well as a kind of consensus. In fact, both of them were trying to get closer to each other. At the very least, since the opportunity had come, they had to seize it. That same night, Chen Jingrong was completely drunk outside. She couldn't see Immerse, nor could she convince Yao Anqi to give him back to her. So, she had no choice but to break military rules and get drunk. A lot of people tried to hit on her at the bar and even offered to take her home. Chen Jingrong chose a man from the crowd and called him Immerse in a drunken manner. This man was the closest in height to her. The man did not say a word as he carried Chen Jingrong out of the bar and headed straight to the hotel. This was an unspoken rule in the bar. As long as a man tried to hit on a woman and she responded, it meant that she agreed to spend the night with him. So, the man naturally assumed that Chen Jingrong wanted to spend the night with him. The couple rolled around on the bed. Only when the man finally entered her did he realize that Chen Jingrong was still a virgin. In fact, Chen Jingrong even called out Immerse's name. As soon as the man heard this, he realized that he had become a substitute. Plus, he didn't want to spend the night with a woman who had done it for the first time. So he sat up in bed, tidied up the 2 women, paid for the hotel room, and left. Chun Jingrong lay in bed drunk. She didn't have much of an impression of what happened the night before. All she remembered was that when she woke up, her body hurt, especially in a certain special area. Could it be? Chun Jingrong panicked as she quickly ran out of the hotel. But as soon as she returned to the military base, she was faced with an even more severe punishment. She had left her post without permission. All of a sudden, Chun Jingrong found it hard to accept. But to confirm that she had actually been violated, Chun Jingrong immediately went to the hospital for an examination. Although there are signs of contact, your hymen is fine. There are no problems. So, Miss Chun, you don't need to worry, the doctor replied honestly. After hearing this, Chun Jingrong almost broke down and burst into tears. If she had known this would happen, she wouldn't have gone to a place like a bar. Now, she was suspended from work and was awaiting punishment. Her life had really become a mess because of Immerse. Afterwards, Father Chun arrived at the military base and took Chun Jingrong home. For the sake of a man, you made yourself look like a ghost. Don't you have any shame? Chun Jingrong was in pain. What shame did she have? Now that the entire world knew that she had stripped naked and laid next to Immerse, what shame did she have? Come home with me. I'll help you find a new place to start over, Father Chun demanded. Otherwise, we wouldn't have a daughter like you, and you wouldn't have to worry about us two old geezers. This time, Chun Jingrong was very obedient and did not object. I'll go home with you. That's right. Immerse had already left. What was the point of her staying here? But she wasn't satisfied that no one dared to cause trouble for Yao Anchi anymore. Yao Anchi also heard that Chun Jingrong had been taken away. If that was the case, would she be able to live in peace from now on? But Yao Anchi was completely wrong, because a moment later, she received a notice from the hospital that she was going to be transferred to be a battlefield doctor. This was probably the last thing that Father Chun did for his daughter before he left. He wanted to get revenge on Yao Anchi. Dr. Yao, it seems the hospital has been pressured. If you don't agree to be a battlefield doctor, they'll make you leave the military hospital, the assistant said to Yao Anchi. Dr. Yao, it seems the hospital has been pressured. Chapter 1236. As soon as Yao Anchi heard about the incident, she removed her surgical gloves and headed straight for the hospital chief's office. Chief, I've already made my decision. I have a child, so there's nothing I can do about it. Anchi, your medical skills are actually very good, so I don't want you to leave either. But, Chief, you don't need to feel bad. After speaking, Yao Anchi pulled out her resignation letter and bowed deeply to the hospital director. Without waiting for a response, she turned around and left the office. She had plenty of opportunities to leave the military hospital, but because of Xingzhe, she didn't get to do so. Now that everything was ready, she naturally had to grab hold of the opportunity to advance. Of course, Yao Anchi did not tell Immerse about her decision. After returning home, she spent 3 whole days with Xingzhe. On the 4th day, she finally went for an interview at Beijing Hospital with her resume. As she had been an ER doctor for many years, she had plenty of surgical experience. So, Beijing Hospital treated her well and provided her with a lot of resources. This was something that she wouldn't be able to enjoy at the military hospital. Miss Yao, I don't doubt your abilities, but I have one question that I need you to answer for me. Chief, please go ahead, Yao Anchi replied politely. Why did you leave the military hospital? I was kicked out because I offended someone I shouldn't have, Yao Anchi replied honestly. Fine, Beijing Hospital welcomes you. After speaking, the hospital chief stood up and shook Yao Anchi's hand. Because of her outstanding abilities, Yao Anchi directly took over the position of chief after arriving at Beijing Hospital. A big hospital naturally became busier, but Yao Anchi felt unusually fulfilled. 7 days later, Immerse was finally able to see his wife and son again. But during dinner that night, the first thing Yao Anchi said was, I left the military hospital. When did this happen? Immerse asked. About half a month ago, Yao Anchi replied. I'm currently working at Beijing Hospital as the chief of the ER department. Immerse did not say a word, but Yao Anchi could sense that the atmosphere was a little strange. It wasn't until late at night that Mozishi finally spoke as the couple lay in bed. Why didn't you tell me as soon as it happened? You don't think it's necessary, right? Angie, I admit that our beginnings weren't as good as everyone else's. But I've said it before, I'm willing to get closer to you. While I was training at the military base, every day, I thought about going home to see you in Xingzhe. I really wanted to be by your side. But you changed hospitals and didn't tell me, treating me like an outsider. At this moment, Yao Anqi was speechless. No matter how she tried to explain, she couldn't deny that she didn't inform Mozishi as soon as possible. That night, the couple looked at each other in silence. In fact, Yao Anqi had no idea when Mozishi left. Was she being too casual with Mozishi? Yao Anqi couldn't help reflecting on herself. Perhaps he was really angry, but after Mozishi left, he didn't return home for half a month. Yao Anqi was so busy that she didn't have time to give him a phone call. Perhaps her heart was simply too cold? That day, she had an operation at the hospital and was stitching up a patient. The patient asked Yao Anqi, "Doctor, you're so young. You don't have a partner yet, right?" "My child is already 3 years old," Yao Anqi replied. "Oh, I wonder what kind of man would be able to marry someone as outstanding as you." After Yao Anqi heard what the man had to say, she walked into the waiting room after the surgery was over and pulled out her phone. She felt that if she continued to be so indifferent, she and Mozishi would only be Xingzhe's parents for the rest of their lives. That was all. Meanwhile, Mozishi had already returned home. Seeing that Yao Anqi was calling him, Mozishi picked up the phone. "I thought you'd forgotten about me as your husband." "Zishi, don't be angry at me. You know that I've never been in a relationship before, yet I suddenly became a mother. There are a lot of things that I don't know how to do, and I don't know how to maintain a relationship. I was born with a weakness in this area. So, if I haven't taken the initiative, then please take the initiative. Don't blame me or be angry at me, okay?" After hearing Yao Anqi's words, the anger in Mozishi's chest finally dissipated. "If you had called me earlier, everything would have been fine. Men are actually easy to coax. It's not as complicated as you think. I have another operation coming up, so I won't talk to you any longer. Let's talk at home tonight." Mozishi nodded his head and reminded, "Go do what you need to do. I'll come pick you up later." Okay. In a relationship, someone had to be willing to take the initiative. Yao Anqi was well aware that her personality was lacking and she was slow in this area. So, taking this step wasn't easy for her. Afterwards, Yao Anqi returned to her post. As soon as her new assistant saw her phone call, her expression changed, so she immediately asked, "Was that a phone call from brother-in-law?" "I called him," Yao Anqi corrected. "I really want to meet brother-in-law. How outstanding does he have to be to marry our Dr. Yao? How outstanding does he have to be? He just needs to be able to fire accurately at the right moment. We got on the train first and paid the ticket later." Yao Anqi smiled at her assistant. It was rare for Yao Anqi's assistant to see her smile. After all, Yao Anqi was always quiet and cold. This time, it was because of Mozishi that she had a different expression on her face. In that case, brother-in-law is amazing. All the more reason for us to meet him. Mozishi had no idea that the people around Yao Anqi were already talking about him. He had just coaxed Xingzhe to sleep and was about to pick Yao Anqi up from work when he received a phone call from his former comrade. He called to ask about Yao Anqi. "How's Anqi been lately? I just heard that she left the military hospital because the Chun family pressured the hospital chief." As soon as Mozishi heard this, his expression changed. "Is this information reliable?" "Of course, a lot of people in the hospital know about it." "Why? Didn't Anqi tell you about it?" "How is she doing?" "She's doing great." After speaking, Mozishi hung up the phone and quickly drove over to Beijing Hospital. At this time, it was drizzling outside and the weather was cold. Yao Anqi stood outside the hospital entrance, looking around every now and then. A colleague held up an umbrella and asked Yao Anqi if she wanted to leave with her. However, Yao Anqi shook her head because she had already spotted Mozishi. "Look, that's Dr. Yao's husband. He's tall and handsome." Chapter 12:37. As soon as Yao Anqi heard the commotion around her, she walked up to him. Mozishi pulled her into his arms and escorted her back to the car. The couple did not say a word on the way back because Mozishi's car was way too fast. Yao Anqi sensed Mozishi's emotions. Last time he was like this too. Whenever he was emotional, he would let her see it. Why didn't you tell me? What? Yao Anqi asked confusedly. About the Chun family's oppression. Mozishi asked patiently. What reason did you keep it to yourself this time? I simply didn't want you to be put in a difficult position between me and the Chun family. Yao Anqi explained. But I can't let you suffer like this for nothing. Mozishi emphasized. You didn't do anything wrong, so you don't need to endure the Chun family's anger. This time it's just work. What if they threaten you with a divorce next time? Are you going to do the same thing? I also want to leave the military hospital. That's why wanting to leave and being forced to leave are two different things. Mozishi interrupted before Yao Anqi could finish her sentence. Afterwards, the couple remained silent until they returned home. By this time, Xingzhe had already fallen asleep under the coaxing of the nanny. As soon as he saw Mozishi and Yao Anqi arrive home, he immediately left. Mozishi looked at Yao Anqi sitting on the sofa without moving, so he walked over, lifted her up in his arms, and threw her onto the bed in the guest room. Before Yao Anqi could react, Mozishi's body was already on top of hers. Like this, their bodies were pressed against each other, and their faces were touching. I don't know why, but I feel like it's very difficult to open your heart. You don't even want to open a crack for me. When something happens, I need to find out from someone else. It's like I'm not needed and your husband is just a decoration. What do I need to do for you to acknowledge me? Or do I need to possess you like I did 4 years ago? Do I need to be intimate with you before you'll accept the fact that I'm your husband and not just the father of your child? Yao Anqi did not move as she allowed Mozishi to press on top of her. After Mozishi was done venting, she finally said, I'm used to being independent and being on my own, so I can't think too much at the moment. I'm not sure what I need to do to be considered needed. Are you like other women, always sticking to a man? Of course I can't do it, but when I'm in trouble, I think of you. Is this a need? After hearing Yao Anqi's words, Mozishi was stunned. Then, he let go of Yao Anqi. You know, I'm a doctor. I like to turn big things into small things and small things into nothing. Because I believe that in the face of life, there aren't so many things that can be argued or entangled. So, I like to simplify my love life. If you feel uncomfortable because of this, then I apologize. Mozishi looked into Yao Anqi's eyes. In the end, he admitted defeat and got off her body. He then grabbed her by the arm and said, I was just too anxious, so I don't blame you, Yao Anqi replied. I just don't know why, but I suddenly have expectations for you. I sincerely hope that we can start a new life together, one that belongs to the three of us and doesn't involve anyone else. Okay, Yao Anqi nodded her head in seriousness. Mozishi felt a little defeated that he received Yao Anqi's answer so easily. He felt like he wasn't valued enough. But he had no idea. As long as Yao Anqi agreed to something, she would do it even if it meant giving it her all. Let's go out for dinner. When Xingzhe wakes up, there's going to be trouble. Okay, the couple walked out of the guest room. One went into the kitchen, while the other went into the master bedroom. When Mozishi saw Xingzhe sleeping peacefully on the bed, his heart was filled with hope. No matter what, he was going to become a real family with Yao Anqi and their son. After dinner, Mozishi bathed Xingzhe and coaxed him to sleep. Yao Anqi went into the bathroom to take a shower. A moment later, the couple were lying in bed. Of course, this time, they weren't as awkward as before. Instead, they were a lot more natural. However, he was a man, especially since his wife was lying beside him and Yao Anqi's fragrance was still lingering in Mozishi's nose. He couldn't help but have a reaction. However, as Yao Anqi flipped over, she awkwardly touched a hot spot, causing her face to turn red. Mozishi did not move. He simply turned off the bedside lamp and calmed himself down. But at this time, he heard Yao Anqi say, "Let's sleep in the guest room tonight." Mozishi understood what she was hinting at, but he was in disbelief. Are you saying? Yao Anqi did not say another word. She simply stood up and walked into the guest room. She didn't want to disturb Xingzhe's sleep. Immerse followed behind her. At this moment, he appeared even more shy. Inside the guest room, Yao Anqi did not turn on the lights, but her hint was obvious. Immerse lay down on the bed, but he did not do as he pleased. Instead, he wrapped his arms around Yao Anqi and whispered beside her ear, "I don't want to take you so casually. I want to wait for you to trust me. You've already given birth to a son. What's the point of saying all this?" Immerse. Seeing that he still didn't want to make a move, Yao Anqi removed his bathrobe. Perhaps it was because of his recent training, but Immerse's body had become stronger and healthier. "You're my husband. I've already acknowledged that." This time, Immerse did not hold back. The memory of that night 4 years ago kept replaying in his mind. The feeling of their skin against each other was exactly the same as the feeling at this moment. Immerse felt like he had been electrocuted. At this moment, Immerse was certain that his feelings for Chun Jingrong came from the memory of that night. The person he liked was the woman that he was intimate with, but Chun Jingrong pretended to be her. Now that this woman was by his side, he suddenly realized that his memories had been awakened and the beautiful feeling returned. It made him extremely excited. What made Immerse even happier was the fact that he finally understood his feelings. Why did he have expectations for Yao Anqi so quickly? Why did he have urges for Yao Anqi so quickly? This was all because he had fallen in love with Yao Anqi from the very beginning. Even though it was called love at first sleep, it was all because of Yao Anqi. With this thought, Immerse became even more excited. His originally gentle palms suddenly became intense as they swept across Yao Anqi's body, leaving behind seductive sparks on every part of her body. Chapter 1238. Actually, in Yao Anqi's memory, that night was one of the happiest moments in the past few years. After all, she always knew that the man in front of her was Immerse. Although she never said it out loud, she still secretly paid attention to his every move. She knew when he was promoted, when he made a contribution, and when he was admitted to the hospital. Because of this understanding, it slowly seeped into her bones. That's why she wouldn't believe it if she said she didn't have any feelings for Immerse. But she had always stopped herself from paying attention to Immerse. In fact, she repeatedly told herself that he wasn't hers and that he wouldn't belong to her. But the Immerse that lived in her memories and other people's mouths was finally by her side. So, what reason did she have to reject him? So, she couldn't help but reach out her hand to respond to Immerse by wrapping her arms around his neck. At this moment, Immerse felt like he was transported back to that night 4 years ago. All he could think about right now was how he wanted to possess this woman and become deeply connected with her. The crucial moment arrived quickly, but Immerse suddenly stopped and looked at Yao Anqi with uncertainty. "Did you do it willingly this time? 4 years ago, I also did it willingly." Yao Anqi's eyes glistened as she replied, "Immerse," in a gentle voice. Immerse couldn't control himself anymore as he buried himself deep into the warmth of her body. In an instant, the two of them hugged each other tightly. That night, there was no end to it. Immerse displayed the stamina of a soldier as he did it over and over again without stopping. It was like he was addicted to it as he continued to devour Yao Anqi. The bone-devouring feeling was exactly the same as she remembered. It was so addictive that she couldn't stop. Originally, Yao Anqi was planning to return to the master bedroom after midnight, but after Immerse's relentless demands, she had no choice but to give up. She knew that Xingzhe wasn't going to wake up. This man was like an unsatisfied beast, gnawing on her body over and over again, until the next day at daybreak. "I don't want it anymore." Yao Anqi was out of energy, and there wasn't a single part of her body that was fine. Immerse stood up from the bed and carried Yao Anqi in his arms. He placed her in a bathroom and let her soak in the warm bathtub. Immerse then looked back at the results of their battle. The originally clean and tidy bed was now an unsightly mess. How is this still a bedroom? This was simply a battlefield. After tidying up the bed, Immerse returned to the bathroom to find Yao Anqi unconscious in the bathtub. He planned to carry her back to the master bedroom. However, Yao Anqi instinctively pushed him away. "I don't have any energy left. Let me go." "Of course I'm letting you go now. We'll continue tonight." He had endured for 4 years, searching for the feeling for 4 years. Now that he had finally found the result, how could he let it go so easily? Meanwhile, Yao Anqi fell asleep unconscious. Meanwhile, Immerse helped her apply for an entire day off. After all, their doctor Yao couldn't even get out of bed. Just thinking about the taste of last night, a smile blossomed on Immerse's handsome face. This woman's body was really irresistible. Yao Anqi slept all the way until the afternoon. By the time she woke up, she found Immerse playing a game with Xingzhe in the living room. How could he still be so energetic? Yao Anqi was a little annoyed. "Are you hungry? Let's eat something first." As soon as Immerse saw her wake up, he immediately ran into the kitchen to heat up some food for her and placed it on the dining table. "Come and eat." "I don't really feel like eating. I feel like throwing up." "What's wrong?" "It's all because you don't know how to control yourself," Yao Anqi complained. After hearing this, Immerse laughed. "But I haven't had my fill yet. Tell me, what medicine should I take? I'll help you find it. I want to sleep." Yao Anqi noticed the look in Immerse's eyes and realized that he hadn't had his fill yet. So, she quickly lay back down on the bed and closed her eyes to rest. By the time she woke up, it was already 10 p.m. This time, Immerse directly placed the food on her bedside table and said, "Sit up. I'll feed you." "Sorry, I was too much." "So you still know." Yao Anqi struggled to sit up and leaned against the headboard as she enjoyed Immerse's service. "I won't do anything tonight. You should get some rest. I'll be leaving again at 3 a.m. tomorrow," Immerse promised as he fed Yao Anqi some soup. As Immerse fed Yao Anqi's soup, he assured her, "I just want to tell you something from the bottom of my heart. You're telling the truth after sleeping with me for one night?" Yao Anqi glared at him. "Because I've realized something." Immerse smiled at Yao Anqi. "I've discovered my heart. I don't know how to explain this feeling to you, but Anqi, I've realized that the person I've liked from the start has always been you. It's just you." Over the past 4 years, Chun Jingrong had been acting as Yao Anqi's character, but she had never truly entered Immerse's heart. He simply couldn't understand it. It wasn't until Yao Anqi appeared that he realized that he only treated Chun Jingrong like a responsibility and treated her like it was normal. But when it came to her, she was simply a responsibility and nothing more. Over the past 4 years, he hadn't experienced the beauty of that night again. Until last night, when he went crazy. Yao Anqi understood how Immerse felt, because she felt the same way. Before that, she didn't understand the complicated feelings she had towards Immerse. But, as her memories unraveled, the feeling of liking him was unusually clear in her mind. "I won't let you down. I will definitely be with you. Although we missed each other for 4 years, I will never let you go again." Yao Anqi nodded her head and leaned against Immerse's chest. Fate was a strange thing. After going around in circles, they were back to square one. After the couple opened up their conversation, they finally felt like a couple. Although Immerse only slept until 3 a.m. that night. When he woke up, he was reluctant to leave. This time, not only for his son, but also for the exhausted woman lying on the bed. He hadn't even left home yet, but he was already homesick. In a short period of time, Chun Jingrong stopped looking for Immerse. She had already lost all face and lost her job. Although she was relieved that Yao Anqi had been kicked out of the hospital, the thought of Yao Anqi still being with Immerse made her heart ache. She couldn't swallow this anger no matter what. Afterwards, she tried to find out which hospital Yao Anqi was at so she could wait for an opportunity to make a move. Since she couldn't have Immerse, no one else could either. Chapter 1239. Yao Anqi rested at home for an entire day before returning to work at the hospital, but her legs were still weak. But she was glad that she and Immerse finally understood each other and no longer had Chun Jingrong standing between them. As she thought back to the night before, Yao Anqi's face couldn't help but turn red. She never expected Mo Zishi to be so insatiable and insatiable. This man may look like a bright and righteous person, but when it came to women, he was just an ordinary person. Afterwards, Yao Anqi received a phone call from Tongning asking her to take Xingzhe home for dinner. Thinking about how she hadn't been to Hyatt Regency since moving, Yao Anqi happily agreed. After all, Mo Zian really wanted to see Xingzhe. Even if she didn't see him for a few days, it was enough to make her heart ache. So, after work, Yao Anqi took Xingzhe to Hyatt Regency. At this time, Chun Jingrong was at Beijing Hospital, carefully looking for information about Yao Anqi. She wanted to know her schedule and habits because she thought of a perfect way to drive a wedge between Yao Anqi and Mo Zishi. She still remembered how she was taken away by a man at the bar that night. Afterwards, she went to the hotel to check the surveillance footage and saw that the man that took her to the hotel had a similar physique to Mo Zishi. This was the main reason why she mistook him for Mo Zishi that night. Since Yao Anqi and Mo Zishi were together because of their child, they definitely didn't have any feelings for each other. On top of this, Chun Jingrong simply had to use a little trick to break them apart. If worst came to worst, they would both die together. With this plan in mind, Chun Jingrong looked around for the man that took her out that night. It had to be said that the man was a gentleman and didn't take advantage of her. So, she went to the bar again. Yao Anqi had no idea what Chun Jingrong was up to. She simply returned to Hyatt Regency with her son. When Tongning saw Yao Anqi enter the Mo family home so naturally, she guessed that her relationship with Mo Zishi had changed. "Oh God, my little Xingxing, I've missed you so much." Mo Zin immediately ran over to hug Xingzhe as soon as she saw him. "Auntie," Xingzhe cooperatively called out to Mo Zian. Mo Zian was so happy that she almost flew into the sky. "My precious, I love you so much." Tongning pulled Yao Anqi to sit down and asked her how she was doing. Yao Anqi thought to herself, the Mo family didn't seem to know that they had already registered their marriage. Thinking that Mo Zishi would personally return to introduce himself to her, Yao Anqi did not mention that they were already married. Instead, she briefly explained how Xingzhe was doing and how he was doing. But Tongning was a sharp-eyed person. How could he not see the clear marks on Yao Anqi's neck? She was happy that their relationship had made a breakthrough and hoped that Yao Anqi would sincerely accept everyone in the Mo family. Afterwards, Tongning invited Yao Anqi into the study room. She then pulled out a ring from a drawer and handed it to Yao Anqi. "As soon as I found out about your existence, I started preparing this accessory. I was just wondering when I could give it to you. But now I realize the time is ripe." "Auntie, do you still call me Auntie?" Tongning gestured for her to look at her neck. Yao Anqi immediately understood what Tongning was trying to say, so she covered her neck in embarrassment. "I've long treated you as part of my family, as my wife. The fact that you and Zishi are together is what the entire family wants to see." After speaking, Tongning placed the jewelry box in Yao Anqi's hands. "From now on, no matter what happens, I hope that you can trust Zishi. He's not a reckless child." Yao Anqi looked at the jewelry in her hands and sighed. "Mom, Zishi and I have indeed registered our marriage, and we've already made it clear that I want to live a happy life with him. So, I don't really care about these worldly possessions. I know that this is a gift from you, but with my identity, I can't wear jewelry. So, I hope you can take it back. This is a gift from a mother-in-law to a daughter-in-law. You can't reject it." Tongning was genuinely happy that Mo Zishi's incident had ended in the best possible outcome. So, she immediately announced to the Mo family that she had a daughter-in-law and that Mo Zian had a sister-in-law. While at the Mo family home, Yao Anqi was indeed relaxed and happy. After all, the Mo family home made her feel warmer and warmer. So, she felt that she was quite lucky. After all, God still left the best things for her. But because Mo Zishi liked Xingzhe so much, Yao Anqi agreed to let him stay at her grandmother's home for a few days. Mo Zian was so happy that she threw a tantrum in the middle of the night to buy all sorts of toys for her nephew. Yao Anqi didn't have to worry, so she decided to stay the night at the Mo family home. She stayed in the room that Immerse used to live in. It was filled with his childhood memories. Late that night, Yao Anchi received a phone call from Immerse as she lay in bed. "Guess where I am? Mom told me that you're at Hyatt Regency. I'm lying on your bed right now. There are a lot of model planes in your room. Anchi, can you not mention the word bed in front of me?" Immerse pleaded helplessly. "What's wrong?" "Because I miss you, and I miss your body," Immerse said straightforwardly. Yao Anchi's face immediately turned red. "I never thought you were so indecent before. Now I know. Unfortunately, it's too late." Immerse laughed. "It's a shame that I can't go home. Otherwise, I wouldn't have let you get away with this. I'm going to bed," Yao Anchi said in embarrassment, as she wasn't happy with Immerse's flirtatious words. "Okay, my wife is going to bed, so I can't disturb her any longer. Hurry and sleep. I'll be back in a few days." Yao Anchi felt like she was in a dream. After quite some time, she finally said to Immerse, "Actually, I missed you too." "Really?" Immerse was excited. "Uh-huh." After speaking, Yao Anchi hung up the phone and covered her head with her hands. She smelled the familiar scent on the bed and quickly fell into a deep sleep. Meanwhile, Immerse was also teased by his comrade. "I can't believe a phone call with your sister-in-law could be so cheesy." Immerse put away his phone and glared at his comrade. "You'll find out once you get married. Does it taste good?" Chapter 1240. Thinking about that night, Immerse couldn't help but nod his head. Unforgettable. In the past, he didn't like doing things like this because he believed that men should be rational animals. But ever since that night when he was entangled with Yao Anchi, he realized that all his restraint was bullshit. If he was given 3 days off, he would definitely choose to spend all 3 days in bed. By the way, I've made some progress on the matter you asked me to help you with. But who offended you, young Master Imo, to the point that you have to scheme against them? His comrade asked. "Sometimes, an eye for an eye." Immerse laughed as he patted his comrade on the shoulder. "Thanks, bro, that's all." The Chun family used their background to oppress Yao Anchi, so he wasn't going to let his wife suffer for nothing. Did they think that his wife was so easy to bully? He simply obtained some evidence against Father Chun and asked his comrade to report him. Since the Chun family started it, he couldn't be blamed. As Yao Anchi lay on Immerse's pillow and covered herself with his blanket, she felt like Immerse was right next to her. That night, she slept peacefully. After leaving Hyatt Regency, Yao Anchi headed straight for the hospital. As Xingzhe was staying at the Mo family, she no longer had any pressure, so she was a lot gentler than before. But she had no idea that, over the past few days, Chun Jingrong had already prepared an exciting show for her. She had already found the man from the bar. In fact, he had already made a deal with Chun Jingrong. It was obvious that the man didn't lack money. He simply wanted Chun Jingrong. It was that simple. That day at the hotel, he didn't go berserk because he wanted Chun Jingrong to be willing. Now that he had a deal, if he helped Chun Jingrong put on an act, Chun Jingrong would agree to be with him. So, he wasn't going to miss out on this opportunity. Even though Chun Jingrong still held on to the hope that she could get back together with Immerse. But the arrow was already knocked and it had to be fired. Before Immerse returned, Chun Jingrong wanted to carry out her plan as soon as possible. So, that night, Chun Jingrong dressed the man up so that he looked exactly like Immerse. From the back, it was impossible to tell them apart. She asked the man to stand by the side door that Yao Anchi passed every day and pretended to be waiting for her. But just as Yao Anchi was about to appear, Chun Jingrong suddenly pounced over and yelled, "Zishi, I really can't lose you. Don't abandon me, okay? I know you still love me in your heart." At first, the man did not move, but after a brief struggle, he ended up hugging Chun Jingrong. Afterwards, Chun Jingrong wrapped her arms around the man and kissed him. Like that, the couple kissed passionately in front of Yao Anchi. "Zishi, if you love me, then come with me." The man did not say a word as he held onto Chun Jingrong's hand, and they left the hospital together. Yao Anchi stared at the back of the figure in disbelief. She did resemble Immerse, but Zishi did not call to pick her up. So, even though she believed her, she still reminded herself that it was all a trick played by Chun Jingrong. Afterwards, Yao Anchi called Zishi, but no one picked up. Was that man really Zishi? She couldn't believe it. After all, Zishi had just called her last night and told her that he missed her. So there was no way it could have been Zishi, but what if Zishi still had feelings for Chun Jingrong? Because of this, Yao Anchi was extremely disappointed. After returning home, she didn't have a single night of peace. The next day, Yao Anchi looked exhausted as she heard a colleague say to her, "Dr. Yao, last night after I got off work, I ran into my brother-in-law. He was carrying another woman to a hotel room. Did you know about this? Are you sure it's him? Although I've only seen him once, I can't be wrong about that back view," the nurse said. "You need to plan ahead and get to the bottom of things. Otherwise, you'll be kept in the dark. It's not easy being a woman these days." After hearing this, Yao Anchi felt a little upset, but her rationality reminded her that even if someone else ran into him, it didn't mean it was Zishi. So, she decided to give Zishi a phone call. But before she could get through, Chun Jingrong arrived at the hospital. From the looks of it, she was beaming with joy and full of energy, completely different from when she caused a scene at the military hospital. "Although I feel sorry for you, I'm sorry. I've made up with Zishi." After speaking, Chun Jingrong pulled out a photo of the sleeping man and showed it to Yao Anchi. "I know you can't accept this, but Yao Anchi, Zishi and I have been together for 4 years. How about we just break up like this? Zishi said that he will deal with you and the child as soon as possible and marry me. So, I suggest that if you don't want to lose too badly, you should back out." Yao Anchi held back her sadness and looked at Chun Jingrong. "If you're not here to see a doctor, then leave. I don't have time to entertain you. It's going to happen sooner or later. Why are you avoiding it?" "Chun Jingrong, do you think I should trust Zishi or you?" Yao Anchi asked Chun Jingrong. "I don't believe a single word you said today. You don't believe me? Then just you wait for Zishi to personally come and settle things with you." After speaking, Chun Jingrong tried to stand up, but Yao Anchi held her back. "Do you know why I doubt the credibility of your words? Because Zishi and I are already married." After hearing this, Chun Jingrong turned and looked at Yao Anchi in shock. But Yao Anchi continued, "He wants to marry you? Chun Jingrong, aren't you afraid that I'll sue you for breaking up a military marriage? If you're not afraid of going to jail, then I don't care. But if you really want a divorce, tell Zishi to come and talk to me." Chun Jingrong never expected that Zishi and Yao Anchi would actually register their marriage. She never expected. Whether everything you said is true or not, it's easy to verify. Chun Jingrong, what do you gain by doing this? As soon as Zishi appears, I'll know the truth. Did you really think that you could hurt me? Yao Anchi remained calm and was not affected by Chun Jingrong. Chun Jingrong was simply too stupid. Did she think that she would fall for such a simple trap? Yao Anchi was indeed uncomfortable. But even if she believed Zishi, she would still personally ask him and force him to admit it. But she couldn't even get through to him on the phone. So what was there to talk about? Chapter 1241. Seeing the ugly expression on Chun Jingrong's face, Yao Anchi had no choice but to educate her. "If I were you, I would have carefully planned everything out. I would have calculated every possibility and carefully calculated every possible change. What you're doing is an insult to everyone's intelligence." After speaking, Yao Anchi called the security at the door and asked Chun Jingrong to leave. Chun Jingrong was acting like a child playing house because she wanted to disgust Yao Anchi. But in reality, what benefit did she get out of it? Why would he marry you? There's no love between the two of you. Who said there's no love between the two of us? Yao Anchi lifted her head and said as Chun Jingrong was being led away, "You've been a substitute for 4 years. Don't you know how deep Zishi's feelings for me are? He simply thinks I'm you." "You're lying," Chun Jingrong yelled. "How could you make Zishi say something like this?" "Chun Jingrong, you've been clinging to me all the way from the military hospital. Have you really lost your mind? Did you really think that you could easily drive a wedge between us? You don't believe that Zishi has changed, and you keep telling yourself that he still has feelings for you. This is all because you're too afraid to face yourself and the truth. Chun Jingrong was forced into a corner, and her thoughts were exposed. She couldn't accept it, so she tried everything she could to vent her anger. Just like you said, but you need to admit that Zishi still has feelings for me. After all, we've been together for 4 years. Yao Anchi couldn't be bothered to respond to Chun Jingrong. At this time, the security guards entered Yao Anchi's office. Chun Jingrong was escorted out of the office with a face full of dirt. She knelt on the floor and cried. At this time, the man that helped her put on an act suddenly stretched out his hand. Since that's the case, why don't you marry me? If Zishi still has feelings for you, he'll come back for you. Are you willing to take the risk? Don't you just want to sleep with me? I'll sleep with you, but I won't marry you. Even if I die, I'll wait for Zishi. Chun Jingrong was stubborn. In fact, she was so stubborn that it was annoying. But the man did not give up. Previously, I did want her body, but now, not only do I want her body, I want her heart too. Chun Jingrong sneered as she stood up and yelled, "You're crazy." With that, she dried her tears and left. Meanwhile, Yao Anchi didn't believe Chun Jingrong's words, but she didn't feel comfortable either. After all, Chun Jingrong kept causing trouble for her. No one liked being harassed like this and affecting their work and life. But at the same time, she understood that if Mo Zishi stepped in, Chun Jingrong would be even more relentless. She had no choice. When Mo Zishi returned, she could only ignore him for 2 days. What kind of ruthless character did they provoke? At that moment, Mo Zishi was on an important mission, so he had no idea that Yao Anchi was being tormented by Chun Jingrong. But 2 days later, a group of men dressed in black arrived at the Chun family home and sealed it up. In fact, they even took Father Chun away. This time, Chun Jingrong suddenly panicked. She knew what was going on. If someone with her father's status could be taken away, what other consequences could there be? Chun Jingrong had no idea that Mo Zishi was trying to get revenge for his wife. Of course, she had no one to turn to at the moment. All her friends and family were trying to protect themselves. So, the only person she could turn to was the man from the bar. After all, he didn't lack money. "Let's make another deal. What do you want me to put on this time?" The man asked as he glanced at her. "I want money. A lot of money. Money that I can use to bail my father out," Chun Jingrong said as she sobbed. "Fine, but I have one condition. You must marry me," the man said firmly. "I won't accept any other offer." How could Chun Jingrong agree to this? "You're taking advantage of my misfortune." "Just pretend that I am," the man shrugged. "Otherwise, you could go look for someone else." Chun Jingrong did not agree as she left in tears. She wanted to look for Mo Zishi, because the only person she could look for was Mo Zishi. By the time Mo Zishi left the special forces, it was already 4 days later. He immediately rushed home, but he did not see his wife and son. Xingzhe was still at the Mo family home, so Mo Zian couldn't bear to let him go. But what about Yao Anchi? A moment later, Yao Anchi returned home with a paper bag. As soon as she saw the man, she did not look him in the eye. Mo Zishi was a little confused. Just as he walked up to Yao Anchi and hugged her, she stopped him. "You've already booked a hotel room with Chun Jingrong near the hospital. Why are you hugging me?" Mo Zishi was a little surprised as he looked at her blankly. "I went on a special mission. The entire special forces can testify for me." Yao Anchi knew that he was being wrongly accused, but she still felt uncomfortable. So, she explained everything that happened a few days ago to Mo Zishi without leaving out a single word. After Mo Zishi heard everything, he sighed and hugged Yao Anchi as he apologized. "It's all my fault. I'm sorry, Anchi. I'm not blaming you. I'm just a little annoyed," Yao Anchi replied as she hugged Mo Zishi. "Although I can't help but be angry, now that you're back safe and sound, how could I continue to be rude to you? But I heard that the Chun family is currently in trouble. Does this have anything to do with you? Father Chun asked for it. It has nothing to do with anyone else." "But Chun Jingrong will definitely come looking for you," Yao Anchi said. "She's currently at a dead end. Who do you think she'll turn to for help?" I can't help her, Immerse replied coldly. Since you were able to force my wife to leave the hospital with pressure, you should have been prepared for this from the start. That's why you ended up like this. In that case, what do you plan to do with Chunjingrong? She won't believe a single word I say. She insists that I'm lying to her. I can see her, but I want to be with you, Immerse said firmly. Right now, I'm being honest with you, and there's nothing to hide. Most importantly, I don't want you to misunderstand. Yao Anchi sighed and nodded her head. Then, let's set a time. As soon as Yao Anchi finished speaking, Immerse knew that they were done talking business. So, he lifted his wife in his arms and carried her into the bedroom. After thinking about it for so long and missing Yao Anchi for so long, only by returning to Yao Anchi's side would he feel alive. So his heart started to beat like crazy. Chapter 1242. Yao Anchi didn't expect him to be so impatient, so she quickly said, "It's not convenient for me." Immerse suddenly stopped praising Junyin and lost all his anger. But Yao Anchi comforted, "It's okay. I can help you." In reality, Immerse didn't have to be ruthless towards Chunjingrong. After all, they had been together for 4 years. Even if they didn't have feelings for each other, they were still close friends. Immerse didn't want to go that far. If the Chun family hadn't pressured him, he would have kept the best side of Chunjingrong in his heart. Most importantly, the Chun family had laid their hands on his wife first. Due to his limited vacation time, Immerse wanted to spend more time with Yao Anchi. So, he wanted to resolve the matter with Chunjingrong as soon as possible. Chunjingrong was happy and excited that he agreed to meet up with her. But when they arrived at the meeting place, she realized that Immerse had brought Yao Anchi with him. The couple held hands and looked unusually intimate. Chunjingrong endured the pain in her heart and stood up to welcome Immerse. "Zishi, you're here." Immerse did not immediately sit down. Instead, he pulled out a chair for Yao Anchi and sat down beside her. He then said in a deep voice, "I originally wanted to leave you with some dignity, but you didn't seem to appreciate it. I'm not going to talk to you about how you slandered me for cheating on you. Jingrong, since we've met today, let's make everything clear. I hope there will never be a need to keep in touch again." Jingrong's expression didn't look good. In fact, she looked a little pale. "I'm looking for you because of my father. My father has been arrested." "I know," Immerse replied. "At most, your father will be fired from his position. But he won't be jailed and his life won't be in danger. So you don't need to worry." After hearing this, Chunjingrong finally relaxed. She then asked, "Are you and Yao Anchi married?" "Yes," Immerse nodded. "Did you get married because you had a child?" "We got married because we had to. The misunderstanding from 4 years ago caused us to miss each other. But in the end, I understood my own heart. Jingrong, things between us are over. You don't need to waste your time on me, because I will never look back. You have such a beautiful life. You should find your own happiness. Continuing to cling to the past won't do you any good. Once upon a time, I didn't want to associate you with ugliness, but I also hope that you respect my choice. Especially Angie. Apart from me, you owe her, do you know that? Because of your selfishness, she was a nameless single mother for 4 years. Of course, I'm also responsible. I've failed both of you. But I have a clear conscience about my feelings for you. Now, I just want to spend the rest of my life loving Angie. Do you understand then?" Immerse explained patiently to Chunjingrong. "I didn't want to see you because I felt that since we've broken up, there's no need to hold on to each other and embarrass each other. So, please let us go. I also hope that today will be the last time we meet. I can't guarantee what I'll do if you do anything to hurt Angie again." Chunjingrong understood Immerse's words. To be exact, she had always been a joke. And the person that turned her into a joke wasn't someone else, but herself. If she hadn't been so obsessed with lying by Immerse's side, perhaps things would have been different. You don't have to sing praises of the greatness of your relationship in front of me. I just feel that I've been a fool from start to finish. I thought that I was very important, but I've really been deceiving myself. Immerse, it's your loss for giving up on me. After speaking, Chunjingrong stood up and left the cafe in tears. However, neither Immerse nor Yao Anqi comforted her because they knew there was no need. I just hope that she can reconsider her life. Let's go home. Immerse held onto Yao Anqi's hand as he stood up from his seat. As the couple left the cafe, Immerse couldn't help but lean over to Yao Anqi's ear and ask, "When are you going to be free?" "I'll be free when you're gone," Yao Anqi replied with a smile. Xingzhe was currently at the Mo family home, so it was the perfect time for the couple to develop their relationship. But they couldn't do anything. Because of this, Immerse felt terrible. But even so, he wasn't going to joke around with Yao Anqi's health. After all, he still had a lot of time in his life. There was no need to rush. After Chen Jingrong left the cafe, she headed to the bar to drink. She wanted to numb herself with alcohol, but unfortunately, the man stopped her. "Why did you get yourself so drunk this time? Why do you care?" Chen Jingrong laughed as she cried and mumbled to herself, "This is karma. I did something shameful 4 years ago, so I ended up like this. I'm a slut. No, not only am I a slut, I'm also stupid. I thought I was important to Immerse, but I'm just a substitute for Yao Anqi. Immerse has always liked the woman he slept with. He thinks I'm the one he slept with. Ha! I wonder which one of us is stupid." As Chen Jingrong swayed left and right, the man immediately reached out to catch her. "I already told you if you marry me, I can help you make Immerse regret." "Regret? How could he possibly regret? If I say he can, then he can." After speaking, the man carried Chen Jingrong in his arms and headed back to the hotel they stayed at last time. This time, Chen Jingrong wasn't completely drunk, but she no longer cared about her body. If something like this could really make both men and women happy, then it didn't matter who she did it with. So, she accepted her fate and closed her eyes. But she had no idea that the man lying on top of her was the hottest male model in Beijing. Mo Ting's son abandoned his ex-girlfriend to fool around with a mistress. As soon as news of this got out, Yao Anqi would no longer be able to live in peace. However, he didn't know why he would do something so risky and offend the Mo family for the sake of the evil woman in his arms. Perhaps birds of a feather flock together. But sometimes some people were like poison. One look at them would make you addicted to them. Chapter 1243. After returning home, Immerse hugged Yao Anqi and said beside her ear, "Let's go pick up our son tomorrow and take him out to play. What do you think?" Yao Anqi looked at Immerse and hugged him back as she nodded her head. "Perfect. Our family hasn't gone out to play yet. Mr. Mo, I need to go to work. In that case, I'll take Xingzhe out to play. Tonight, my son and I will come pick you up." Yao Anqi nodded her head before she said mysteriously to Immerse, "Actually, I'm almost clean." Immerse's eyes lit up as he hugged Yao Anqi. "Are you teasing me on purpose?" Yao Anqi wrapped her arms around Immerse's neck and buried her head in his chest. She knew what was about to happen between the two of them, but she had to admit that she also desired this man. As time went on, she would also miss his body. Afterwards, Yao Anqi felt herself being placed on the bed as her body sank into the soft mattress. Immerse's handsome face grew closer and clearer from the passionate look in Immerse's eyes. Yao Anqi could clearly sense his feelings for her. Slowly, their clothes were thrown onto the floor one after another. Their naked bodies were pressed together without a single gap during their passionate moment. Immerse hugged Yao Anqi and repeatedly murmured her name in her ear, expressing his love. Afterwards, they moved from the bedroom to the living room and then to the bathroom. As she lay on her deathbed, Yao Anqi felt regret. If she had known this would happen, she wouldn't have told this man because he had no control at all. Like this, the couple spent the entire night tangling together until the next morning. Although it was uncomfortable, Yao Anqi insisted on getting out of bed and going to work, even though the way she walked was a little weird. That night, Chen Jingrong enjoyed herself under the man at the bar. Although she couldn't help but call out Immerse's name during the passionate moment, after seeing the man on top of her, Chen Jingrong understood herself even better. For years of love turned out to be a joke. In fact, It was a joke that she created herself. In fact, she couldn't even blame anyone. The next morning, Chun Jingrong woke up in the man's arms. She suddenly felt disgusted with herself as she quickly put on her clothes. The man sat up and looked at her. "Do you regret it?" "Since I've already done it, I won't regret it," Chun Jingrong replied confidently. "I haven't officially introduced myself. My surname is Li and my name is Shungyuan. I am a popular male model." After speaking, the man stood up from the bed and pressed Chun Jingrong against the cold wall, trapping her between his arms. "Perhaps you regret everything that happened last night, but for me, you promised to marry me, so you have to keep your promise." "I agree." Li Shungyuan nodded playfully. "Out of protection for my fiancé, I will also help you take revenge." "It's strange. You are a male model. How could you not let go of a woman like me? There should be a lot of resources around you that you can play with. Before I met you, I was." Li Shungyuan smiled. "You seem to have a special attraction to me. I don't know what's going on either." Chun Jingrong thought for a moment and nodded her head in resignation. "Since things have already come to this, what other choice do I have? Let's get married. I'm going to head home first." Seeing that Chun Jingrong had agreed, Li Xingyuan nodded and let her go. As soon as Chun Jingrong left, Li Xingyuan contacted the media to expose Mo Zishi and Yao Anqi's relationship. Back in the day, Tongning and Mo Ting were so powerful in the entertainment industry. Even now, with so many newcomers, everyone still respected these two kings and queens. But what if their child was involved in a scandal? Soon, an article titled, "Abandoned Girlfriend of 4 years and Cheated on Single Mother. Tongning's son has gone too far," was posted online. It didn't take long before the article went viral on the internet. The content of the article was, of course, about how Mo Zishi had abandoned Chun Jingrong and how he had an affair with a single mother. The content was vivid and full of twists and turns. In the article, Chun Jingrong even committed suicide for Mo Zishi and carried a child. As soon as a false accusation like this was released, the public didn't care if it was true or not because they simply wanted to see gossip. This was especially true for this kind of content that could be both true and false. After it spread like wildfire, it was hard for others to verify it. Even if someone wanted to help Mo Zishi prove his innocence, there was nothing they could do. "I can't believe that Tongning's son would do such a despicable thing. It's been exposed, and people from the military have confirmed it. There was indeed such a farce. I wonder what Tongning is thinking right now." Tongning and Mo Ting have always been a model couple in the industry. After all these years, they have never left each other. But when it comes to their son, everything changes. He's definitely a despicable person. He cheated and even caused someone to have an abortion. Below the article, netizens quickly followed it. The only reason why the incident received so much attention was because Mo Zishi was Tongning's son. Even though he had always kept a low profile, he was now placed on a pillar of shame. Originally, Mo Zishi wanted to take Xingxia out on a trip, but he ended up seeing the news at Hyatt Regency. He wasn't worried about himself. After all, he was a spoiled brat, so he was used to this. He was simply worried that Yao Anqi would be harassed at the hospital. "Your Uncle Lu will soon find out who spread the news. You should go to the hospital to pick up Angie, okay?" After hearing from Tongning, Mo Zishi immediately grabbed his car keys and left. In the past, he never drove a sports car because he felt it was too high profile and there was no need to be so ostentatious. But now, the thought that Yao Anqi might be surrounded by people made him extremely anxious. So he sped towards Beijing Hospital in his sports car. In the hospital, news didn't spread as quickly. After all, everyone was busy saving lives, so they didn't have time to gossip. But someone had nothing better to do. So they found out that the young woman behind the incident was the new head of the ER, Yao Anqi. You really can't judge a book by its cover. It turns out she stole someone's boyfriend and even had a child with her. How indecent. Can't you guys see that the ground floor is surrounded by reporters? From the looks of it, they're here for Dr. Yao. Yao Anqi ran around the ER, so she naturally noticed the reporters outside the hospital. However, before she had time to look at the news soon, the reporters discovered her She's over there. She's over there. Chapter 1244. Yao Anqi had no idea what was happening. She simply watched blankly as the reporters surrounded her and fought to get their microphones in front of her. Miss Yao, have you seen the post that's been circulating online? Miss Yao, someone has pointed out that you stole someone else's boyfriend to find a long-term meal ticket for yourself and your child. What do you think of this? Miss Yao, wait. Yao Anqi interrupted the reporters and asked in confusion, I don't understand. Why are you all surrounding me? As soon as the reporters saw her expression, they could tell that she didn't know anything. So, they pulled up the news and showed it to her. Did you know that in the eyes of everyone in Beijing, you are a prostitute? After Yao Anqi saw the post, she took a deep breath. I can't believe someone actually believed a post like this. Isn't it your job as a reporter to find out the truth? Why is it that as soon as a post like this appears, there are people that stand on the high ground and question others in such an unfriendly manner? Are you guys above me? Or do you guys have evidence that I cheated? If you don't have anything, then why are you spouting nonsense? I want to know who gave you the right to do so. Miss Yao, are you saying that you don't want to admit to the contents of the post? The reporters asked as they raised their microphones. I don't want to embarrass everyone before I find out the truth. So, I won't be making any response. Yao Anqi replied calmly. Yao Anqi remained calm. In fact, her expression was calm. She wasn't afraid of being surrounded by the reporters. After all, she was married to Mo Zishi, so she knew that the Mo family spent most of their time in front of the media. In reality, Mo Zishi had already arrived at the hospital a minute ago. As soon as he saw Yao Anqi surrounded by reporters, he felt a little upset. So, he immediately wanted to run over and take her away, but seeing Yao Anqi deal with the reporters naturally, Mo Zishi suddenly relaxed. Perhaps this woman wasn't as weak as he imagined. The reporters did not let her go, but Yao Anqi did not respond. The reporters had no intention of letting her go, so they followed closely behind. At this time, Mo Zishi stepped out of his sports car and walked over to Yao Anqi's side. He wrapped his arm around her waist and said to the reporters, We didn't want our private matter to be known by the entire city. But, since someone has exposed it, we have nothing to fear. As for the truth of the matter, Hai Rui will step forward to clarify it. We will give you all the answers you want. So, I hope all the reporters don't make things difficult for us. We are not from the entertainment industry and don't like to be the center of attention. Especially my wife. She is now a doctor in the emergency department. She is always treating patients. If there is nothing else, please do not disturb her. If there's nothing else, I hope you don't disturb her. Mo Zishi's sudden appearance, the reporters turned to him. Mo Zishi pushed her into the hospital and gestured for her to get back to work. As for the media, he knew how to deal with them. Yao Anqi trusted Mo Zishi, so she returned to her post. As for the person that created this story, apart from Chen Jingrong, who else could it be? In fact, even Chen Jingrong couldn't believe that she had suddenly become a victim and became a hot topic. However, she did not feel happy because she knew that when the matter was exposed, she was the only one who would be embarrassed. That was all. So, she gave Li Xingyuan a phone call. Are you crazy? Do you know that you're not helping me? You're harming me? I'm going to use this method to make Mo Zishi completely give up on you, the man replied. You're a male model. Aren't you afraid that the Mo family will find out? What's there to be afraid of? Li Xingyuan was not worried at all. The Mo family will, at most, find out where the news came from. They won't be able to trace it back to me. But Hai Rui can clarify the truth. Do you want to hear people say that I stripped naked beside Mo Zishi and lied to him 4 years ago? In a moment of excitement, Chen Jingrong revealed the truth to Mo Ting. As soon as Li Xingyuan heard this, his expression changed. Did you do something like that? You released news without knowing anything. If Mo Zishi were to reveal the truth, did you think I would still be able to face the world? Chen Jingrong asked helplessly. You don't know me and you don't understand me. Why do you have to stand up for me? Not only did you stand up for me, you're also so stupid. For a moment, Li Xingyuan was stunned. I simply wanted to stand up for you. I didn't mean anything else. Why haven't you removed your news yet? It's too late. Now that everyone was in an uproar, who cared if it was true or not? Wasn't everyone just here to watch the show? Luckily, I don't work in the entertainment industry. Otherwise, I would have died because of you. But it doesn't matter now. Let the public scold me however they want. Chun Jingrong had already given up on herself. She never expected to cause more trouble. She was already embarrassed enough in front of Mo Zishi. Now, she was going to be embarrassed in front of the entire nation. But, for some reason, she didn't hate Li Xingyuan as much as she imagined. She didn't know if he was seriously ill or not. I'll think of a way to turn the situation around. If Hai Rui gets involved, everything will be different. Do whatever you want, Chun Jingrong said before she hung up the phone. From a moment that Li Xingyuan first interacted with Chun Jingrong, he knew that she was a scheming and manipulative woman. But he still fell into her trap without any hesitation. He deserved it. To make Chun Jingrong feel a little better and not embarrass her, he immediately prepared a second post. Turn the situation around. This is the truth that you all want. The contents of the post were from Chun Jingrong's point of view. She explained that Mo Zishi had already broken up with her, and that Mo Zishi had never cheated on her or asked her to get an abortion. Although there was a bit of drama during their breakup, it had already calmed down. So, there was no evidence of an affair or a young married woman. The netizens weren't satisfied with a post like this. They were happily enjoying the show and were just about to get to the interesting part. Why did it suddenly disappear? He had already taken off his pants, yet he was showing this to others? Seeing this post, Chun Jingrong suddenly wanted to laugh. Mo Zishi wasn't as bad as she imagined. But it was already too late. Hai Rui had already found out about Li Xingyuan's actions and were prepared to deal with Mo Zishi. Chapter 1245. Firstly, Hai Rui admitted that Mo Zishi was Tongming and Mo Ting's beloved son, that he was already married to Yao Anqi, and that they had a child together. But this child was none other than Mo Zishi and Yao Anqi's biological child. So, there was no evidence of an affair between Mo Zishi and a young married woman. After all, they were a couple from the beginning, and no one else had anything to do with it. As for why Mo Zishi and Chun Jingrong dated for 4 years before marrying Yao Anqi, it was because someone had tricked them and caused the two lovers to miss out on 4 years before they could finally reunite. As for who this person was, Hai Rui's PR left it up to the public to guess. Although this was a private matter and Mo Zishi didn't want to be too high profile, Hai Rui still produced a DNA test to prove that Xingzhe was a member of the Mo family. Not only that, to prevent the public from feeling uncomfortable, the PR team used this as an example. Person A and Person B slept together because they were drunk, but Person B left the room early. At this time, Person C took advantage of the situation and entered Person A's room. As a result, Person A mistakenly thought that he was in a relationship with Person C. As a result, Person A and Person C naturally ended up together. But for years later, their lie was exposed. This was an interesting story, but it also summed up the relationship between Mo Zishi and Yao Anqi. The public finally understood the whole story and realized that Mo Zishi and Yao Anqi had been set up. But the person that suffered the most was Yao Anqi, the single mother. This is the story that everyone wanted to see. This is the complete version of the story. This is the reason why Mo Zishi broke up with his girlfriend of 4 years and married Yao Anqi. There was no melodramatic affair, nor was there any lecherous woman. Everyone simply lost themselves in their own world of love. That's all. Thank you everyone for your attention on the Mo family. But this is a private matter, and it's not worth delving into. So, today, Hai Rui would like to clarify everything and ask everyone to give Mo Zishi and his wife some breathing space. Hai Rui's latest sci-fi film is about to be released. I hope everyone will pay attention to it. Hai Rui's PR did not mention Chun Jingrong's name at all, nor did they speak in an aggressive tone. But they made it clear to everyone that if Chun Jingrong hadn't lied to them, Yao Anqi wouldn't have been a single mother for 4 years, and her child wouldn't have been without a father. So the truth was out. Perhaps Hai Rui did not specifically force Chun Jingrong because of the post in the end. Hairue had already tried their best to make everyone presentable. Even so, the netizens still felt extremely sad. It turns out that women can be so scary when they go crazy. What's the point of deceiving someone for their feelings? It will be exposed sooner or later. The previous post was trying to throw dirty water on the Emo family. I'm speechless. Let's just disperse. It's just a family matter. I might as well save my energy to watch a blockbuster. Of course, there were plenty of people that wanted to attack Chen Jingrong, but Chen Jingrong didn't care anymore. After all, she wasn't a part of the industry. But what she was worried about was whether Li Xingyuan would lose his job because of her. Indeed, since Li Xingyuan had offended the Mo family, there was no way he could bluff his way out of this. So, President Mo gave an order and informed the industry that Li Xingyuan's plans for the next year were completely destroyed. When Li Xingyuan was doing this, he had already mentally prepared himself for it. He knew what the consequences of offending the Mo family were. So if he lost his job, then so be it. Chen Jingrong tried to find out where Li Xingyuan was, but all she could find was that he had been replaced by someone else. It wasn't easy for her to find out where Li Xingyuan lived, but she couldn't get in and didn't have his contact details. So, she had no choice but to head to the bar. As expected, Li Xingyuan was there, drinking on his own. Chen Jingrong walked over and snatched the glass from his hand. She then grabbed onto his collar and dragged him to the entrance of the bar. You lost your job? If it's gone, then it's gone. What else can I do? Li Xingyuan laughed. I'm already sick of it. Your job was lost because of me. Let's call it even. Your reputation is ruined because of me. Li Xingyuan laughed. Chen Jingrong, you're a bad woman, but I'm willing to do it for you. For some reason, Chen Jingrong suddenly felt emotional. She had chased after Mo Zishi for 4 years, but now, someone was actually following her around. It was a strange feeling, but it also made her feel a little guilty. I don't want you to lose your job, but I've already lost it. Go get it back, Chen Jingrong said. As long as I can help you, I will. Help me? Don't get involved in the industry anymore. I don't need anyone's help because I'm fine. After speaking, Li Xingyuan turned to leave, but Chen Jingrong held on to him. Let go. I've already said everything I needed to say, and we're done here. Why are you still clinging to me? I want to go to the hotel with you, Chen Jingrong said straightforwardly. I miss your body. Can't I? Li Xingyuan suddenly woke up and looked at Chen Jingrong passionately. He had to admit that he was also infatuated with Chen Jingrong's body. It was just one time, but he already missed her so much. You said it. Don't regret it. After speaking, the couple rushed to the hotel and hugged each other. Chen Jingrong realized that she didn't hate this feeling. But at this time, Li Xingyuan was very clear-headed. If you still think of me as Mo Zishi, then I won't be accompanying you today. I saw Mo Zishi. Congratulations then. We've already made things clear. I was too stubborn, and I'm hopeless. But now, I know that he won't be able to turn back. I don't think of you as him anymore. I don't know how to explain it to you. I simply feel that you may seem like a bad person with a motive, but you lost your job because of me. So, I can't just let you go. Li Xingyuan did not say a word as he looked at Chen Jingrong. I refuse to believe that you can let go of Mo Zishi. The one I can't let go of right now is you. Chen Jingrong hugged Li Xingyuan. Perhaps people like us are more suited to be together. So, I'm your spare tire? Li Xingyuan smiled bitterly. I'm still a spare tire with nothing. You were the one who provoked me first. Chen Jingrong grabbed onto Li Xingyuan's shirt. How could you provoke me and get my attention, then kick me away? Chapter 1246. Li Xingyuan smiled bitterly with mixed emotions. He never expected that Chen Jingrong would turn around and look for him. A person like Chen Jingrong actually turn around to look for him. Don't run away, okay? Li Xingyuan's patience was broken, so he accepted his fate and kissed Chen Jingrong. When his desire was finally satisfied, he admitted that he really liked Chen Jingrong, even if she was so evil, scheming, and once liked someone so much. After a night of entanglement, both of them had a clear understanding of each other. Chen Jingrong understood. Mo Zishi's departure wasn't entirely because of love, but because of her pride and unwillingness. The next day, the two of them left the hotel, unaware that a large group of media was waiting for them in the parking lot. To begin with, Li Shunyuan was already on the verge of being blacklisted. Now, it was revealed that he had booked a room with a woman. His image was instantly destroyed to the lowest point. It wasn't easy for them to escape from the crowd of reporters. Chen Jingrong couldn't help but ask Li Shunyuan, "Were we caught on camera? What about you? Since I've already been banned, it doesn't matter if I get photographed." Li Shunyuan had already given up. Most importantly, if the female lead was someone else, it wouldn't have been a big deal. But she happened to be one of the main characters in Mo Zishi's incident. As a result, Li Xingyuan's situation became even more difficult as the internet was filled with criticism. "What do you mean it doesn't matter? I won't let you be buried like this." Li Xingyuan did not take Chen Jingrong's words to heart because he had his pride as a man. Although the two of them had talked it out last night and were entangled crazily, they still had to face reality when they woke up this morning. After Li Xingyuan escorted Chen Jingrong home, he left. To be exact, he completely disappeared. By the time Chen Jingrong realized something was wrong, Li Xingyuan had already disappeared for 3 days. Chen Jingrong couldn't find him anywhere. She couldn't even find a trace of him at the bar. At this moment, Chen Jingrong realized how much this man cared about his pride. But when he first helped her, didn't he think about the consequences? Chen Jingrong felt that she had to try asking the Mo family. After all, in this industry, Mo Ting still had the final say. It had been like this for the past few decades. As long as Mo Ting gave the word, no one dared to disobey. Just like that, they tacitly banned Li Shunyuan. Because of this, Chen Jingrong went to look for Yao Anqi again. Of course, even though Yao Anqi felt helpless, she didn't avoid meeting him. "What do you want this time?" "I'm not here for Mo Zishi. I'm here for the man that helped me put on an act the other night. He was the one that posted a negative post online about you and Mo Zishi. Afterwards, he was banned from the entertainment industry and disappeared. That's why I came looking for you. The two of you are really birds of a feather," Yao Anqi commented. "So, what do you think I can help you with right now?" "I want to see Tongning. I know my request is a little overboard, but that man became like this because of me, so I need to give him an explanation. I also know you have no right to help me, so I'm simply asking you. I can promise you anything." After Yao Anqi heard this, she fell silent for a moment as she continued to write the medical records in her hands. "I can help you, but my mother-in-law may not be willing to see you. As long as you're willing to help, it doesn't matter if you don't succeed or not." Chen Jingrong let out a sigh of relief. She knew that as long as Yao Anqi was willing, her chances would increase by a lot. "You can leave now." Chen Jingrong did not stay to disturb Yao Anqi any longer. But before she left, she said something from the bottom of her heart. "I'm quite envious of you. Honestly, I'm also quite regretful. If I hadn't done what I did 4 years ago, the two of you would have gotten married and had a second child." Yao Anqi did not respond. To her, those assumptions weren't valid. Plus, even after 4 years, she still received what she deserved. Although God made her endure a lot of hardship, in the end, he didn't mistreat her. Afterwards, Yao Anqi gave Tongning a phone call. Mom. Anqi, speak." Tongning was busy on the other side of the phone. "Chen Jingrong came looking for me today because of the male model. She seems quite concerned about it and wants to ask you to give her a chance to meet with him." After hearing this, Tongning laughed. "Your father asked for this. You should go look for him." "Mom, this is what I'm thinking. If Chen Jingrong can actually walk out of her relationship with Zishi, then I'll give her my blessings. That's why I'm willing to pass on this message. I don't want to have anything more to do with her." After hearing this, Tongning nodded her head. "I understand. Leave her hanging for a few more days. Don't worry about her. When the time comes, I'll send someone to look for her." "Thank you, Mom. You're so kind to stand up for us. I know that you and Zishi have been exhausted from all this time." "It's fine," Tongning comforted. "From now on, the two of you should live a good life. If you run into any difficulties, just come home." Yao Anqi was extremely touched by Tongning's open-mindedness. Tongning had never asked for anything from her. All she wanted was for her and Zishi to be happy. This was the true meaning of a family. That night, Zishi returned home from the Special Forces. After hearing about Chun Jingrong's situation, he could only praise his wife. "You can't be heartless. I simply don't want Chun Jingrong to keep interrupting our lives. If she can walk out of this relationship, then it's not a bad thing for us to help her." Zishi nodded his head and lifted Yao Anqi in his arms. "I'm not in the mood to care about other people. All I can think about right now is you. Because of this, you keep handing Xingzhe to Zian. Zian is also very busy." "What's she busy with?" "Although she's in charge of Hai Rui, it's been around for over 10 years. If she skips work every now and then, Dad will turn a blind eye to it. Plus, she really likes Xingzhe." After speaking, Zishi removed Yao Anqi's beige clothes and touched her warm body. "You're really Yao Anqi's final words were swallowed by Zishi. At a time like this, was there even a need to say anything else? The Special Forces was a place filled with men. They either trained all day or went on hot-blooded missions. So, what did young men think about the most? Of course, they thought about returning home and getting intimate with their wives. There was nothing better than this. Chapter 1247. Chun Jingrong waited for 3 days and also searched for Li Xingyuan. But whether it was Tongning or this man, there was no news at all. In the end, after 3 days, Tongning sent someone to bring Chun Jingrong to Hai Rui and arrange for her to meet in a private waiting room. Chun Jingrong was very nervous. After all, Tongning was the representative of intelligent women in this era. She was good at seeing through people with one glance. So, Chun Jingrong felt that as she stood in front of Tongning, she could see through all her thoughts. "Mrs. Imo," Tongning turned around elegantly. Although she was already in her 50s, she did not show any signs of aging. She looked like she was in her early 30s. Wasn't this mother a little too young? "Relax. There's no need to be so nervous," Tongning said to Chun Jingrong. "I know what happened between you and my son. I'm a little embarrassed," Chun Jingrong quickly explained. "I have no intention of interfering. Everything was resolved according to the rules of the industry, including the man that stood up for you," Tongning replied. "Old people don't understand and don't want to get involved in the matters of the young. But everything has a limit. I'm sure you understand what I'm trying to say. I didn't ask you to come today to make things difficult for you. I understand your intentions. You want to help that male model. But I have a question for you. What is your relationship with that man?" Chun Jingrong looked at Tongning timidly. After a moment of silence, she finally replied, "We like each other. Don't you like my son? Zishi has always been my dream. When I first found out that he wanted to propose to me, I felt like my dream had come true. But now, I've woken up from my dream, and everything has returned to reality. Towards Zishi, I feel unwillingness, but towards this man, I can't let go," Chun Jingrong replied honestly. "I can also promise you that, as long as I find Li Xingyuan, I am willing to leave Zishi in Yao Anqi's life." Tongning looked at Chun Jingrong the entire time. She could tell that Chun Jingrong wasn't lying at this moment. "Child, you can go home. I've heard your request," Tongning replied. "Since you like him, then put your heart into it. Don't use deceptive methods. That is the worst poison to a relationship." "Thank you, Mrs. Imo. Back when I was your age, I didn't necessarily do better than you. We were just competing with each other, but now I don't care," Tongning replied. "That's why I can't really hate you, because you still have a conscience. Since that's the case, may I be so bold as to ask Mrs. Imo for a favor? Can you help me find Li Xingyuan?" Tongning did not give Chun Jingrong an answer. She simply told her to go home first. For Hai Rui, finding someone was a piece of cake. But why would they help them? Tongning once again kept Chun Jingrong in suspense for 3 days. On the 4th day, she finally sent Chun Jingrong a message. Li Xingyuan was currently at a photographer's home, begging for a chance to film for him. As soon as Zishi returned home and heard about the incident, he couldn't help but sigh. But after lamenting about Chun Jingrong, Zishi still hugged his mother. "Mom, thank you for worrying about me after worrying about Zichen. Don't let your father hear these words. Dad is not a fool. How could he not understand? The reason why he tolerated us was because he loved you and knew that you would be sad. These words were very useful to Tongning. After all, she had relied on Mo Ting's love to get to where she was today. You have a sweet mouth and know how to coax people. Now, there's only one left in our family. Mo Zishi was referring to Zian. But from the looks of it, Zian didn't seem to have the need to be in a relationship. She was busy every day and even dragged Xingzhe to her side from time to time. Tongning smiled without saying a word. As a mother, she more or less understood her daughter's feelings. Some people only needed a glance for 10,000 years. From what Mom said, does Zian have a boyfriend? Tongning's silence was a tacit admission. Otherwise, why did you think someone as smart and studious as her would go to school and take over Hyrule? It was all because there was a figure in the school that attracted her. Mo Zishi did not ask any further. After all, he was going to find out sooner or later. But as soon as he returned home, he casually mentioned the matter to Yao Anqi. As soon as Yao Anqi heard this, she suddenly thought of Zian's mischievous behavior. The person that Zian likes must be outstanding. I'm afraid he's not bad-looking. After all, with her father as a benchmark, Zian's standards were actually quite high. Let's not talk about Zian anymore. Let's talk about us, Yao Anqi said with a serious expression as she held onto Mo Zishi. What's wrong? My period is a few days late. I want to go to the hospital for a checkup tomorrow. Logically speaking, with my body, it shouldn't be easy for me to get pregnant again. Nonsense. With me around, why can't you get pregnant? As long as Mo Zishi was at home, he didn't need to sleep at night. So, how could it be difficult for him to get pregnant? Although the doctor had told Yao Anqi something similar in the past, he simply said that she couldn't have an abortion. Yao Anqi glared at Mo Zishi. How dare he brag about his body? Mo Zishi did not care about anything else as he carried Yao Anqi in his arms. Yao Anqi was shocked. You can't touch me tonight. What if we really have child? Mo Zishi laughed and explained, do you think I'm an animal? I simply didn't want you to walk, so I carried you out. Of course you are an animal. Anqi, help me give birth to a daughter. That way, I'll have both a son and a daughter. After speaking, Mo Zishi placed Yao Anqi on the bed and placed a kiss on her stomach. Yao Anqi's gaze immediately softened. She had a feeling that if she was really pregnant, the child in her stomach was going to be a daughter. The next day, Yao Anqi went to work and stopped by the OB-GYN department for a checkup. 2 hours later, she received a blood test report, and it was confirmed that she was pregnant. Although Mo Zishi had gone to the army, he quickly called to check on her. Yao Anqi couldn't stand him anymore, so she simply said, your dream has come true. I'm pregnant. I'm going to be a father again. Mo Zishi exclaimed excitedly. Luckily, he did not forget about Xingzhe. Yes, you're going to be a father again. Yao Anqi was also excited. This time, Mo Zishi was by her side, and he was going to experience the pain of childbirth with her. Chapter 1248. Mo Zishi was excited and proud. Thinking back to the time he spent with Yao Anqi, they practically spent every night together. So, he wasn't surprised that Yao Anqi was pregnant. But this time, he didn't want Yao Anqi to endure the pain of childbirth on her own. That night, he rushed home from the military base. As soon as he opened the door and saw Yao Anqi, Mo Zishi couldn't help but pull her into his arms. Anqi. Yao Anqi was shocked and hurriedly asked him to put her down. Be careful of the child. Mo Zishi immediately put Yao Anqi down. He was so excited that he looked like a little lunatic. How many days has it been? What did the gynecologist say? What to do? I feel like I have to buy some books to read. I'm so nervous right now that I can't control myself. Seeing his reaction, Yao Anqi immediately held onto his head and placed a kiss on his lips. Don't be nervous. You don't need to do anything. You already gave birth to Xingzhe, so you won't feel so bad this time. Mo Zishi took this opportunity to wrap his arms around Yao Anqi's waist and deepen the kiss. The couple ended up passionately kissing in the living room. Finally, Mo Zishi couldn't take it anymore and hurriedly went to the bedroom to take a cold shower. Because he knew that from now on, he would have to abstain from sex again. Although Yao Anqi's heart ached for him, at this crucial moment, the two of them had to control themselves. Have you told your family about this good news? Mo Zishi asked as he stepped out of the bathroom. Yao Anqi shook her head. I haven't had the time yet. Why don't you tell him? Mo Zishi thought about how the couple hadn't made a move yet, so he couldn't help but give his mother a phone call. Mom, what's wrong? Tell me. Anqi is pregnant again, Mo Zishi said excitedly. She's been pregnant for about a month. After hearing this, Tongning couldn't help but be shocked by Mo Zishi's speed. In the end, she couldn't help but laugh. You sure are impolite. You already have two, but your brother doesn't even have one. I want Zichin to be jealous. Mo Zishi laughed. Why should I be a physics teacher? I should hurry up and have a child. The situation is different from yours. Mo Zishi didn't want a child because he wanted to protect the child and Qianlan. After all, his identity was too special. He couldn't be like Mo Zishi, who casually gave birth to a child that his enemies could use against him. So, Mo Zichin decided not to have a child for the time being. But Mo Zishi had no idea about any of this. He had always thought that his brother was purely a physics teacher. But he had no idea that the things that Mo Zichin had done over the years were so shocking. All right, I know you're here to show off. I'll rush him later. But for the Mo family, Yao Anqi's pregnancy was a joyous occasion. After all, who didn't like having a house full of grandchildren? Mo Ting's generation didn't have any siblings, but they gave birth to 3 in one go. Plus, Mo Zishi had made a good start, so the 2 rascals behind him would definitely follow. Mo Zishi chuckled as he hung up the phone. Meanwhile, Tongning gave Mo Zichin a phone call. Your sister-in-law is pregnant again. Your brother wants to know when you guys will make a move. Mom. Mo Zichin looked at Qianlan helplessly. We've only just started our 2-person world. Who would want to learn from him? She's almost ready. If you and Qianlan can't take care of her, you can leave it to your sister. She's more than happy to take care of her. Mom, next time Go calls to show off, don't mention it to me. Qianlan and I have our own plans. How long has it been since the 2 of you last saw each other? Tongning asked. There are some things that you should let your brother know. Understand, there's a family gathering in 2 days. Bring Qianlan home, Tongning instructed. Mo Zichin had no choice but to agree. He then looked at Qianlan with a hurt expression. Sister-in-law is pregnant again. This means that big brother and sister-in-law are living a happy life. Qianlan changed into her pajamas and lay down in bed. Aren't you going to get some rest? Qianlan, why don't we have a child too? Is your identity really okay? Qianlan asked. It's okay. I know you have a lot of concerns. I can wait. After all, we are still young. Plus, when big brother's child grows up, he can help us take care of it. Isn't that great? Mo Zichin's identity was not up to him. So, after lying in bed, Mo Zichin hugged Qianlan and apologized. I'm sorry. Why are you apologizing to me? Qianlan asked. Because I can't give you a normal family, Mo Zichin said as he kissed Qianlan on the back. I'm not a good husband. I'm the one who decides whether you're a good husband or not. I'm the one who decides whether you're a good husband, not you. Qianlan turned around and pounced into Mo Zichin's arms. As long as you're by my side, that's enough for me. After hearing this, Mo Zichin gently pressed Qianlan under his body and pressed his nose against hers. I want you. What's the point of me objecting? Qianlan said as she hooked her arms around Mo Zichin's neck. Afterwards, a series of kisses landed on various parts of Qianlan's body as a fire ignited in her heart. It was so painful that she couldn't control herself. That night, perhaps because of guilt, Mo Zichin was exceptionally gentle as he took care of Qianlan's feelings the entire time. In fact, as the couple climbed into the clouds, Mo Zichin removed the condom and left the fire inside Qianlan's body. But Qianlan was exhausted, so she had no idea that Mo Zichin wasn't using a condom. She fell into a deep sleep as Mo Zichin cleaned her up. Afterwards, she lay comfortably in Mo Zichin's arms. In the dark, Mo Zichin hugged Qianlan and kissed her ear. I want a child. I want a well-behaved daughter like you. Qianlan made a sound, but did not say a word. She thought she was dreaming. Imo Zichin smiled and also fell asleep. Hopefully, he would hear the good news of becoming a father in a month's time. Chen Jingrong already found out where Li Shengyuan was hiding, but she was not in a rush to find him. Hai Rui had already lifted the ban on him, but he had no idea that he was still wasting his time at a famous photographer studio, hoping to get a rare photo opportunity. Chen Jingrong followed Li Shengyuan for a few days straight. The confident man at the bar had completely disappeared. All that was left was a haggard appearance. This made Chen Jingrong feel extremely uncomfortable. Although Li Shengyuan wasn't a good person, after losing everything because of her, he did not ask for anything from her. Instead, he endured the pain and hid far away. There was no reason for her not to fall for a man like this. Chapter 1249. Because of this, Chen Jingrong teamed up with the photographer to set a trap for Li Shengyuan. The photographer knew that Li Shengyuan's ban had been lifted, so he was happy to cooperate with Chen Jingrong. So, he told Li Shengyuan that he agreed to shoot for him and gave him a place to work. The next night, Li Shengyuan arrived on time. But, as soon as he entered the studio, he saw Chen Jingrong holding a bouquet of roses. Li Shengyuan froze, but Chen Jingrong continued to approach him. Li Shengyuan was at a loss. At this time, Chen Jingrong suddenly knelt down on one knee and said, "I'm sorry. I was wrong. I apologize. Shengyuan, I want to be with you, but I don't know if you're still willing. I will change the things I did wrong in the past, and I will forget the people I once liked. I just want to have a new beginning with you. Can you give me that chance?" Li Shengyuan watched as Chen Jingrong knelt on the ground like a man. How could he hold on any longer? He lifted Chen Jingrong up in his arms and threw her onto the bed behind him. He then took advantage of this time to remove his suit jacket and pants before he pressed Chen Jingrong underneath his body. Afterwards, he crazily bit and demanded. Chen Jingrong couldn't handle his strength, but because he was the person she liked, she could accept it no matter how rough he was. After the pleasure, Li Shengyuan finally calmed down and hugged Chen Jingrong. "Why did you come all the way here?" "I've been following you for a few days," Chen Jingrong admitted. "Haven't you noticed that someone's been following you? Do you like me that much?" Li Shengyuan asked with uncertainty. "If I didn't like you, I wouldn't have gone to the Mo family to plead for you. I know you need your pride, but you ended up like this because of me, so I feel responsible. If you don't accept my kindness, I'll feel guilty for the rest of my life." Chen Jingrong explained. No wonder the photographer responded to me again. It turns out, Li Shengyuan smiled bitterly. "Are you unhappy?" "No, I've already thought it through. I originally planned to look for you after I dealt with the situation here, but I never expected that you'd come looking for me." Li Shengyuan hugged Chen Jingrong even tighter. "Do you want to marry me?" Chen Jingrong took the opportunity to ask Li Shengyuan. "Do you want to?" Li Shengyuan didn't reply. Instead, he used his body to prove what he wanted. This was the best ending, wasn't it? A few days later, at the Mo family's gathering, Mo Zishi and Mo Zichin were ordered to return home. Meanwhile, it was Qianlan and Yao Anqi's first time meeting each other. The sisters-in-law hit it off very well, so it didn't take long before they forgot about their man and started chatting. Mo Zishi felt a little helpless. He turned to look at his younger brother and said, "When you were making a ruckus, I didn't get to watch the show. But I saw your fun," Mo Zichin said viciously. The two brothers hadn't seen each other in a long time, so Mo Zishi decided to put on the airs of an older brother and educate his son. "Since you're just going to be a physics teacher, you should have a child as soon as possible. You're so kind as to meddle in my business? Not satisfied? Your brother is currently in the best special forces," Mo Zishi humphed. "How about this, bro? Let's spar. If I can beat you, you will listen to me tonight. If not, I'll listen to you," Mo Zichin suddenly suggested. But Mo Zishi didn't understand. "How about this?" But Mo Zishi had a confused look on his face. "You're just a physics teacher. You want to fight me one-on-one? Do you want to get beaten up?" Mo Zichin smiled mysteriously and jumped into the garden. "Grappling or fighting, it's up to you," Mo Zishi humphed unwillingly. As long as you can beat me, not only tonight, I'll listen to you from now on. It's a deal. You're asking for death. Immerse rolled up his sleeves and chased after his brother. The two brothers began to spar in the bushes. Originally, Immerse thought that Immerse had only learned a few tricks in the gym, yet he dared to challenge him. But when Immerse actually made a move, Immerse was shocked. After all, he couldn't even reach Immerse. Immerse might seem skinnier than him, but he was able to land every punch. In fact, his punches were much stronger than his comrades. Immerse was confused. He originally thought that Immerse was unorthodox. But little did he know, Immerse's skills were more orthodox than his. Zichin, where did you learn these moves? Why don't you find out for yourself? Major M.O. Immerse raised his eyebrows playfully. Bro, although you've been in the military for many years and are skilled, you've never been in a real battle. You have no idea what it feels like to be hit by sharp knives and bullets. You make it sound like you know. Immerse stood up straight and smiled. He then suddenly pulled open his shirt. When Immerse saw the big and small scars on his body, he froze. Let me officially introduce myself to you today. I am the Deputy Director of Division 9, Immerse. Division 9? Immerse was stunned for a moment before he reacted. Aren't you in the intelligence department? Yes, Immerse nodded. It's been more than 10 years. Immerse gathered his thoughts and finally realized what Immerse's identity was. You're amazing. Immerse couldn't help but hug Immerse. I was wondering how you could be willing to be a physics teacher with that brain of yours. I never thought that you would hide it from your family and work in the intelligence department. So, you should understand why I didn't come home for the past few years, Immerse explained. I signed an agreement. What's there not to understand? Immerse patted Immerse on the shoulder. All these years, I've been thinking about how great it would be if my brother used his brain to protect the country. I never thought that my dream would come true. No wonder I couldn't reach you. You got so many years of combat experience. It was very dangerous. I almost died 5 or 6 times. It wasn't easy for me to survive. Immerse smiled bitterly. Bro, are you unhappy? Why would I be unhappy? I'm really happy for you. Zichin, I've never been as capable as you, but there's one thing that you've lost to me. In fact, you'll never be able to beat me in this lifetime. I have 2 children now, but you don't have a single one. Seeing how childish Immerse was, Immerse couldn't help but laugh. I was afraid that you'd be unhappy. Deputy Director, is your brother such a petty person? But from now on, if you're in danger, you need to find a way to contact me, okay? Immerse nodded his head. After all these years, his brotherly relationship with Immerse was still as good as ever. Of course, this was all thanks to their mother. Tongning, children that didn't lack love naturally didn't fight with each other. Chapter 1250. That night, the MO family home was very lively. Seeing that her 2 sons had their own families and that Immerse was now a father, Tongning felt an indescribable bitterness in her heart. A flash marriage at 26 years old gave her a happy family. So, Tongning couldn't help but cry in front of her children. Mommy, why are you crying? When Dad comes home, he's going to think that we bullied you. When that happens, we're going to get beaten up again. Immerse quickly wiped away Tongning's tears. Your 2 brothers each have their own families. What about you? I'm still young, Immerse said coyly as she leaned against Tongning. Tongning couldn't do anything about it, so she lectured. You're already the CEO of Hyrule. You're still young. Your mommy debuted on the runway in her teens. I still want to study for a few more years. Go ahead. It's up to you. Tongning did not interfere with Immerse's life, just like how she didn't interfere with the MO brothers. For her, fate was determined by the heavens, especially when it came to relationships. There was no way to force it. So, she allowed Immerse to explore the world on her own. Even if she ended up hurting herself, it didn't matter. That night, the MO family home was filled with laughter and chatter. But it was all about the children. Xingzhe was doted on by the entire family, so he wasn't afraid that his soon-to-be-born sister would compete for his love. A month later, Yao Anqi unexpectedly received an invitation in her office. She never expected that Chun Jingrong and Li Shengyuan would decide to get married. Afterwards, Yao Anqi took the invitation home and handed it to Mo Zishi to decide whether to go or not. Mo Zishi's mind was completely focused on Yao Anqi. How could he have time for anything else? So, he handed the decision back to Yao Anqi. After careful consideration, Yao Anqi decided to go. After all, she could truly feel Mo Zishi's love. She didn't mind if Chun Jingrong and Mo Zishi met. After all, now that Chun Jingrong had a male model, she didn't necessarily care about Mo Zishi. A week later, Yao Anqi and Mo Zishi appeared at the grand wedding ceremony. As soon as Chun Jingrong saw them, she was extremely touched as she personally thanked them. "I thought you guys wouldn't come. He happened to be at home, so I came over to join in the fun. Anqi, I really want to thank you guys. Did you know that?" Chun Jingrong raised her glass to apologize to Yao Anqi, but Mo Zishi stopped her. "She's pregnant, so there's no need to drink." Chun Jingrong never expected that they would have a second child so soon. In the end, she smiled in relief. "Congratulations and blessings. Without you, I don't think I would have found the love that truly belongs to me." "Don't be so extreme from now on," Mo Zishi said. "Of course, I will cherish this hard-earned relationship." Afterwards, Chun Jingrong and Li Shengyuan went to greet the guests, but Mo Zishi secretly left with Yao Anqi because he felt bad. "What happened? I feel sorry for marrying you, but I didn't even get to propose to you. I didn't even get to see you wear a beautiful wedding dress, yet you ended up with a child," Mo Zishi complained. "I don't mind. Our relationship has always been unpredictable," Yao Anqi laughed. "Look, my parents never held a wedding ceremony either, but they've grown old together. So, a wedding is just a formality. It's not as important to me as you think." Mo Zishi patted Yao Anqi on the head. He still felt like he owed her. But it didn't take long before the Mo family received another piece of good news. Qianlan was also pregnant. However, when Qianlan saw the pregnancy test, she looked at it helplessly. "We obviously used birth control. Why do we still have it?" "Silly, I tampered with it," Mo Zichen replied. "You didn't even ask me if I agreed to it. What should we do now?" "You're already pregnant," Mo Zichen comforted. "Instructor Qian, the earlier a woman gets pregnant, the easier it is for her to recover." "I don't believe you," Mo Zichen snorted. Most importantly, Qianlan had just been tasked with training new soldiers. But now that she was pregnant, what else could she do? Of course, she was blaming Mo Zichen, but deep down, she was overjoyed. After all, she had been looking forward to their child for a long time. "But Big Bro already has 2 babies and we have a little one. But what about little sis?" Qianlan began to worry about Mo Zichen. Mo Zichen humphed and said in disdain, "Why are you worried about her? Don't you think she has a lot of suitors?" "But I've never seen Zian in a relationship." "That's because the person she likes isn't ordinary." When it came to intelligence, was there anything that could be hidden from Mo Zichen? A long time ago, he already knew about Zian's intention to stay at the university. After all, she was crazy about the gentleman professor. But the professor did not seem to care. "According to what you're saying, doesn't that mean Zian won't succeed?" "That's hard to say. According to his sister's personality, as long as she wanted something, she would wait for it no matter how much patience she had to put in. But it all depended on whether she would be enlightened sooner or later. But it's embarrassing for a member of the Mo family to chase after a man." What Mo Zichen meant was that Zian wasn't charismatic enough and couldn't even win over a man. Over the next few days, the Mo family held another family dinner. This time, it was to celebrate Qianlan's pregnancy. As long as something big happened at home, Tongning was happy to have a party. After all, this way, the family would feel closer to each other. But because her 2 brothers had already completed their marriages, Zian naturally became the target of ridicule. "Look at you. You don't even have a boyfriend." "Exactly. Stop clinging to my son. If you're capable, go ahead and give birth to one yourself. Mo Zishi despised Xian's actions of taking over his son. Mo Xian was helpless, so she quickly ran away. Seeing this, Tongning did not expose her daughter. Instead, after the dinner, she said to her husband in private, "Ting, why don't you look around and see if there are any suitable young men among your friends that you can save for your daughter? Do you think she'll be willing?" Mo Ting asked. "But it's not a good idea for her to continue being one-sided," Tongning replied. "Although I don't want to interfere with their relationship, I don't want to see my precious baby suffer this kind of humiliation. If she's your precious baby, what about me?" After hearing this, Tongning couldn't help but laugh. "You're everything to me." Mo Ting was satisfied. "Let's wait a little longer. Give our daughter some time." At this moment, Mo Xian was hiding in her room and feeling terrible. She didn't know if she could continue to hold on after so many years. Chapter 1251. Mo Xian had a lot of admirers because she wasn't arrogant towards anyone. But she was careful to keep her distance from the opposite sex, especially when Gu Qingli was around. Gu Qingli was 30 years old and was the youngest professor at the university. He was elegant and elegant. He always moved in slow motion, but Mo Xian loved how unhurried he was. In fact, this lasted for a few years. From the moment she entered university, she had already noticed this man. Even after she graduated, she refused to leave because she wanted to have more chances to bump into Gu Qingli. But Gu Qingli seemed to be isolated from the world and didn't get close to anyone. She once wrote Gu Qingli a letter, but it was like a stone dropped into the ocean and she never heard from him again. She assumed that Gu Qingli probably didn't like people like her, so he didn't even respond to her. Or perhaps it was because there were too many people that liked him and he couldn't pay attention to them all. But being in a one-sided relationship for so long was tiring. Especially when she saw that her brothers were already married and had 2 babies, she realized that no matter how much she liked Gu Qingli, if he didn't have any feelings for her, there was nothing she could do to force him. "Xian, are you packing your things to go home?" one of her roommates asked as soon as she saw Mo Xian packing her things. "Yes, it's more convenient to go home." "Have you given up on Professor Gu?" "Perhaps. He can only be a distant dream for me." After speaking, Mo Xian put on her backpack and left the dormitory with her books. Because she was familiar with his lifestyle, she was able to bump into Gu Qingli whenever she wanted. The elegant man always arrived at the university at 8 a.m. and sat in the cafe for an hour. He seemed to have a lot of suits. Mo Xian secretly counted and realized he had around 30 sets. He liked to wear quartz watches, and they were all expensive. He was elegant and had an extraordinary way of speaking. No matter how she looked at him, he didn't look like a professor. He looked more like a leader of a company. He was obviously elegant like a scholar, but he preferred to read science and engineering books. One time, Mo Xian even caught a glimpse of the edge of his underwear. It was a luxury item from Italy that normal people couldn't afford. But no matter how familiar Mo Zishi was with him, there was no way she could attract his attention. So, on this day, she decided to give up on this man and completely end this unrequited love. As usual, Mo Xian sat by the window and watched as Gu Qingli arrived at school. As he sipped his familiar English coffee, his eyes were glued to his books. He was elegant and charming. At noon, he would order a set meal and then slowly sit at his seat, not wasting a single grain. At night, he would drive away from the school and return to his apartment not far from the school. Mo Xian was well aware of this. After lunch, Mo Xian picked up her backpack and stood up. At this time, a girl from a university approached Gu Qingli and handed him a love letter. "Professor Gu, please accept this." Gu Qingli lifted his head and glanced at the two before he gently pushed them away. "Sorry, I'm already married." As soon as she heard this, Mo Xian's heart throbbed in pain. Although she already guessed it, when she heard it from Gu Qingli's mouth, she still felt so sad that tears began to fall from her eyes. Ever since she was young, she had always been envious of her parents' love, but she knew that every relationship was unique. Plus, she had no idea why she was poisoned by Gu Qingli and couldn't stop herself. Now that Gu Qingli said that he was married, she could finally give up. But just as she was about to leave, the owner of the restaurant smiled and approached Gu Qingli. Why do you keep saying that you're married? Kids these days aren't mature enough. It's too easy for them to say that they like me. In reality, they simply care about my looks. Hearing these words from Gu Qingli, Imo Xian's heart began to beat again. So, she gathered her courage and walked over to Gu Qingli. Professor Gu, I've actually liked you for a long time. Gu Qingli and the owner of the restaurant were both stunned. I've written you letters before, but I'm guessing you don't remember. Today, I'm preparing to leave the university. When I saw someone confessing to you, I decided to join in on the fun. Don't worry, although I like you, I've already decided to give up. Professor Gu, I wish you the best. After saying these words, Imo Xian turned around and walked out of the restaurant with her head held high. At this time, the owner of the restaurant said to Gu Qingli, I remember this child. She arrives every day after you arrive. It's been about 3 years. Although Gu Qingli's body did not move, a ripple appeared in his heart. Afterwards, he returned to his office and searched around for a long time. Finally, he found the yellowed love letter. Gu Qingli opened it up and realized that it had been written for 4 years. What did it feel like to have a crush on someone for 4 years? Gu Qingli didn't understand, but his impression of Imo Xian was that she was always optimistic and well-liked by the teachers and students. He never expected that this gentle girl would have a crush on him, especially after so many years. After Imo Xian returned home, she threw herself into Tongning's arms and cried. She then held back her tears and decided to start working at Hai Rue the next day. At least, without love, she still had her family. Tongning's heart ached for her daughter. After all, Imo Xian didn't need anyone to worry about her since she was young. Imo Xian was able to plan her own life and didn't burden Tongning at all. Mommy, it's so tiring to have a crush on someone. My daughter is so outstanding. I'm sure she'll meet someone better. Tongning comforted as she patted Imo Xian on the head. Mommy, I'll sleep with you tonight. You'll have to ask your father, Tongning laughed. Imo Xian simply wanted to act coquettishly, but she knew that Imo Ting wouldn't let her go. So, after wiping her tears away in Tongning's arms, she returned to her room and sealed everything about Gu Qingli. But, to her surprise, just before she went to bed, she received a text from an unknown number. The words on the text once again threw her into disarray. I didn't see the letter. Teachers all had their students' contact details, so Imo Xian wasn't curious. She simply couldn't believe it, so she asked, Are you Professor Gu? That's me. Gu Qingli replied quickly. Imo Xian's heart raced like she had won the lottery. What should I say next? What should I say? Chapter 1252. Why did you leave the university? I've seen your courses. Are you not going to get a degree? Could Imo Xian tell him that it was because she couldn't continue her one-sided love? Plus, since Gu Qingli had already read the letter and heard her confession, what kind of standpoint was he using to ask her about it now? Was he going to continue to play dumb? I have a class tomorrow. You need to be on time. Okay, Imo Xian replied. She had completely forgotten how hard it had been for her to make up her mind to forget about Gu Qingli. A few words from Gu Qingli had changed her mind and reignited her fighting spirit. Get some rest. See you tomorrow. Gu Qingli was very calm. He had always been elegant, so he did not express his intentions. He simply spoke like a teacher caring for his student. Even so, Imo Xian was satisfied. At least, she felt that she was special in Gu Qingli's heart. Otherwise, he wouldn't have sent her a private message just to ask her to go to class the next day. The next morning, Imo Xian packed her things and headed to school with her backpack. But she noticed Tongning's expression. Aren't you going to work? The female CEO. Mommy, let me go to class first, Imo Xian said as she planted a kiss on Tongning's cheek and left. Actually, after so many years at Hai Rue, with Feng Yu and Lu Che around, Imo Xian didn't need to work at all. Plus, Imo Ting had been relatively lenient towards her over the years, so she could still act shamelessly in front of Tongning. So, Mo Zian headed to school in high spirits. Her first class was Gu Qingli's. As soon as Mo Zian entered the classroom and saw Gu Qingli walk up to the podium, her heart began to race. Although Gu Qingli was slow, his lecture was lively and interesting. Mo Zian laughed and clapped along with the other students. Afterwards, Gu Qingli handed out some documents. Copy these documents home and print them out for revision. The upcoming exams are very important, so I won't be giving you a second copy. As for those that don't come to class, they won't receive their exam results. After speaking, the students all went to copy the documents while Gu Qingli stood to one side. Just as Mo Zian stood up and was about to go make a copy, she received a message from Gu Qingli. I've made a copy for you. It's in the dining room. Go get it at noon. Mo Zian's face turned red as she quietly returned to her seat. However, her heart was filled with joy. Sorry for the trouble, Professor Gu, Mo Zian replied. See you in the afternoon, Gu Qingli replied. He didn't say anything else, because he had classes in the afternoon. To prevent Mo Zian from feeling awkward, Gu Qingli immediately left the classroom after class. Meanwhile, Mo Zian headed straight to the cafeteria to grab some documents. Seeing this, the lady boss was very happy. Little girl, I think you are very promising. As soon as Mo Zian received the information, she saw that there were notes and important points highlighted. Her heart was filled with excitement. On the last page of the information, Gu Qingli had written in strong handwriting, "Focus on your studies and focus on your studies." In truth, the underlying meaning was don't leave. Mo Zian returned to her dormitory with the documents in her hands. As soon as her roommates saw her, she immediately asked, "Didn't you say you left school?" "I've thought it through. I don't want to leave for now." "In that case, shall we have classes together in the afternoon?" "Okay." Mo Zian nodded. Just the thought of Gu Qingli's classes made Mo Zian extremely excited, because she really did not think that this unrequited love would have a day where the bitterness was over and the sweetness came. During class in the afternoon, Mo Zian had already calmed down a little. But when she saw Gu Qingli's elegant demeanor, she was still mesmerized. A moment later, Mo Zian's phone vibrated. As soon as she saw the message, her face turned red. "Pay attention in class. A good teacher caught a bad student." Mo Zian put down her phone and pretended to pay attention in class again. But she couldn't focus at all. Just as class was about to end and Mo Zian felt like she could breathe again, she received another message from Gu Qingli. "Want to have dinner together tonight?" How could he take it so naturally? But could she reject him? All she could do was reply, "Okay." So, after class, she waited outside the classroom for Gu Qingli to finish work. Afterwards, Gu Qingli came out of his office and walked with Mo Zian. Mo Zian felt like she was being watched the entire time. But Gu Qingli did not notice anything was wrong. After all, everyone knew that she was a student. "What do you like to eat?" Gu Qingli asked gently. "I'm fine with anything. I'm not picky," Mo Zian replied. "I know a good restaurant. Let's go there." Gu Qingli led Mo Zian to the parking lot and drove her around Beijing to a very elegant restaurant. Afterwards, the couple sat down at a table by the window. As soon as Mo Zian's gaze landed on this man, she couldn't look away. But Gu Qingli did not mind at all. "This is my first time taking a female student out to dinner. You mentioned yesterday that you got married." "That's just a shield," Gu Qingli replied as he sipped on his coffee. "Plus, if you hadn't said what you said yesterday, I may have continued to use you as a shield." Mo Zian was embarrassed. She didn't know how to face Gu Qingli. "Where did your courage from yesterday go?" Gu Qingli couldn't help but laugh when he saw this. "She's a girl. She's shy," Mo Zian replied. "Zian, you're a good and likable girl," Gu Qingli commented. "Have you looked at the information?" Finally changing the subject, Mo Zian nodded her head. "I have. Thank you, Professor Gu. If there's anything you don't understand, feel free to tell me," Gu Qingli said. "I don't know what else I could do for you apart from that." Mo Zian felt that Gu Qingli was way too reserved. She had already been so direct with her words, yet he was still acting like this. So, To prevent herself from thinking too much, Immerse gathered her courage and said, "Professor Gu, you know how I feel about you, right? I was very clear about it yesterday. Then, since you know and are still willing to get in touch with me, does that mean it means that I've been paying attention to you?" Gu Qingli replied in seriousness. "But the school has a rule that students and teachers can't get too close to each other. Even so, I still want to try getting in touch with you. So, Zian, you don't need to be so cautious around me. Let's go with the flow. What do you think?" This man was so gentle that Immerse fell head over heels for him. So, of course she was willing, even in her dreams. "Okay, in that case, let's order what you like." Immerse held onto the menu and picked out what Gu Qingli liked the most. After 4 years of observation, she was well aware of this man's preferences. "So, you know what I like?" Chapter 1253. Immerse realized that she had been too proactive and exposed a lot of information. Did Gu Qingli think that she wasn't being reserved? "I just noticed it once in a while." Gu Qingli smiled and did not probe any further. Women were shy, so he couldn't reject Immerse's request. "It seems I need to work harder." "Huh?" Immerse didn't understand what he meant. "I understand you." Immerse had to admit that she enjoyed the dinner, but at the same time, she felt a little restricted. She wanted to present her perfect side to Gu Qingli, but this made her feel like she was being restrained. Gu Qingli sensed that she was being cautious, so after dinner he said to her, "From now on, you can eat whatever you want. Since I'm already here, I won't leave." Immerse lifted her head and looked at Gu Qingli's warm smile. This was the kind of person that made Immerse unable to stop herself. "Let's go. I'll take you home." "I'm staying on campus," Immerse replied. "I'll take you around the campus." Gu Qingli locked his car and walked in front of Immerse. Immerse was a little surprised, so he said he was going for a walk. Immerse followed behind Gu Qingli like a student. Gu Qingli couldn't help but laugh when he saw this. "Come over here." Immerse walked over and stood side by side with Gu Qingli. At this time, they still ran into quite a few students along the way. But no one paid much attention to the relationship between Gu Qingli and Immerse. After all, every now and then, a student would approach Gu Qingli. Soon, the two arrived at Immerse's dormitory. While no one was around, Gu Qingli said in a serious tone, "After hearing what you said yesterday, I thought you were a brave girl. But it turns out you're also a coward." "Yesterday, I was too anxious," Immerse said as she lowered her head in embarrassment. "Zian, I'm not as scary as you think," Gu Qingli said as he patted Immerse on the head. After speaking, Gu Qingli stretched out his hand and patted Immerse on the head. "After you go upstairs, have a good rest and attend class tomorrow." "Okay, Professor Gu," Immerse nodded. After watching Tongning head upstairs, Gu Qingli smiled helplessly. "I originally thought you were a sly little fox, but you turned out to be an obedient bunny." In reality, Immerse wasn't satisfied with her performance today, because in front of Gu Qingli, she appeared very clumsy. She didn't know what it was for. In front of others, she clearly had no problem communicating with them. That night, Immerse and Gu Qingli did not exchange any messages with each other. It was like the previous night never happened. This made Immerse feel like everything that had just happened was a dream. The next morning, Immerse attended Gu Qingli's class again. Immerse listened to Gu Qingli's class in a daze. She couldn't believe that this high and mighty man actually had a relationship with her. After the bell rang, all the students in the classroom quickly left. Immerse slowly stood up, but Gu Qingli called out to her, "Student Zian, stay behind. Were you paying attention just now?" When the other students heard that the professor was about to scold them, they quickly left the classroom. Meanwhile, Immerse looked at Gu Qingli in confusion. After Gu Qingli walked down the steps, he said to Immerse, "I'll give you a question. Do you want to listen?" "You don't have any more classes?" Immerse asked happily. "No, I've already looked at your schedule. I don't have any more." After speaking, Gu Qingli removed his suit jacket and placed it on the desk. He then pointed at the question on the blackboard with an infrared camera and explained it to Mo Zian. Was he holding a small class just for her? Or did Gu Qingli know that she was biased towards subjects, so he deliberately asked her to stay? Mo Zian's heart was filled with sweetness. She could sense how special Gu Qingli was to her, so her face blushed under the sunlight, making it easy for others to imagine. The two of them stayed in the classroom for the entire class. Mo Zian nodded her head. After confirming that she was fine, Gu Qingli finally let her go. I still have one more class. Help me order lunch from the cafeteria, Gu Qingli instructed as Mo Zian left. Mo Zian nodded her head and made an okay gesture. Same seat. I'll wait for you. Mo Zian kept reminding herself not to fall head over heels in love with Gu Qingli. But there were plenty of people in the school that fell head over heels in love with Gu Qingli. Yet, she was lucky enough to have some sort of connection with Gu Qingli. After arriving at the cafeteria, Mo Zian excitedly ordered a set meal for Gu Qingli. Meanwhile, she sat in her usual seat. She could see Gu Qingli, but she wasn't too close to him. Soon, Gu Qingli arrived at the cafeteria after class. When he saw the food on the table, he smiled. As expected, Mo Zian understood his habits well. Mo Zian sat not too far away and watched as the surrounding students discussed Gu Qingli. This man was too likable, so Mo Zian couldn't help but feel a little jealous. The two sat in separate seats in the cafeteria without saying a word. But no one knew that the two of them had a telepathic connection. After Gu Qingli finished eating, he left the cafeteria. At this time, the boss of the cafeteria approached Mo Zian and said, I thought you ordered 2 sets of food for yourself. I never thought. You ordered it for Professor Gu. Boss, don't spread the news. Okay, I won't spread the news. If you need anything else, just let me know, the boss said enthusiastically. Mo Zian gestured her thanks and stood up to leave. She followed Gu Qingli not too far away, and the two of them were only a few meters apart. A moment later, Gu Qingli sent her a message. Have you finished your homework? Mo Zian's face turned red. It turned out he had discovered her. Be a good girl. Go home and get some rest. I'll give you a phone call after class in the afternoon. After Mo Zian received her orders, she did not continue following Gu Qingli. Instead, she returned to her dormitory to rest. When her roommate saw this, she could not help but ask, Zian, you've been acting strange the past 2 days. Is it because you failed to win Professor Gu's heart that you become twisted? You have to know that the number of people who are in love with Professor Gu in our school has already circled the world twice. It's normal that you can't get him. Furthermore, you have a one-sided crush on him. I'm fine. I'm not twisted. Mo Zian laughed. Plus, if I can't get Professor Gu's heart, no one else can either. I'm quite satisfied. That's right. Mo Zian's roommate patted Mo Zian on the shoulder. I suspect that Professor Gu likes men. Look, there are so many beautiful women on campus. Forget about the students. Look at how many teachers try to flirt with him, but he's never moved. Your analysis makes sense. Mo Zian nodded in agreement. That's why good men are all taken away by other men. Chapter 1254. Mo Zian couldn't help but laugh, but she did not continue her conversation with her roommate, because she received a phone call from Gu Qingli. Zian, are you free? Yes, Professor Gu, what's up? Go to the school entrance and help me get my documents. Gu Qingli said. Okay. After speaking, Mo Zian changed into a pair of shoes and headed to the school entrance to retrieve Gu Qingli's documents. She then helped him deliver them to his office. At that time, Gu Qingli was preparing for his class. When he lifted his head and saw Mo Zian, he immediately took the documents from her. Are you free this afternoon? Nope. In that case, stay here and read. Let's have dinner together after work. Mo Zian was suspicious of Gu Qingli's motive for calling her out. But with a beauty in front of her, she couldn't care less. Plus, Gu Qingli was obviously testing her. With such a handsome face right in front of her, how could she focus? Gu Qingli seemed to be doing this on purpose, as he did not look in Mo Xian's direction at all, and continued to prepare for his class. Soon, it was time to get off work. You go first, I'll follow you. Gu Qingli was very considerate. He was afraid that Mo Xian would feel uncomfortable, so he asked her to wait downstairs. Mo Xian packed her things and left the office. She then waited outside the school entrance. When she saw Gu Qingli from afar, her heart raced. Gu Qingli didn't drive, so he had to walk quite a distance with Mo Xian to find a place to eat. This made Mo Xian assume that he was trying to avoid being seen by others. But Gu Qingli explained, "It's not that I don't want others to know of your existence. I just think it's more convenient. I don't want others to disturb your life. Your most important task right now is to focus on your exams." Mo Xian suddenly felt relieved. But how did Gu Qingli know exactly what she was thinking? She suspected that he had planted a worm in her stomach. "I have a lot of classes, but I want to see you. So, do you mind if I ask you to do a few things for me?" Mo Xian quickly shook her head. Gu Qingli smiled elegantly and looked at his watch. When he realized it was still early, he asked Mo Xian, "Are there any good movies recently? Do you want to go?" Mo Xian suddenly lifted her head, not knowing what to do. "Or are you busy tonight?" "I won't go even if I'm busy," Mo Xian replied anxiously. "I'm saying I'm free tonight." Little idiot. Mo Xian had already expressed her love for Mo Xian on her face. Didn't need to guess? For some reason, Gu Qingli felt that Mo Xian was extremely cute. "What do you want to see? Or are you saying that you can look at anything?" "Anything is fine," Mo Xian replied. After all, she was there to see someone, and Gu Qingli understood what she was thinking. So he helped her and himself by choosing a 3-hour opera. Mo Xian didn't really care what she was looking at. What was important was the person sitting next to her. Gu Qingli was very considerate of Mo Xian's feelings. After dinner, he led Mo Xian to the theater. Mo Xian was fascinated by his upbringing. Such a man was her professor. It didn't take long before Gu Qingli finished preparing the tickets and popcorn. He then asked Mo Xian to follow him into the theater. After they sat down, he placed the popcorn in Mo Xian's hands. "I wasn't sure if you like sweets, but I still bought some." Mo Xian hugged the popcorn in her hands as she stood in the dark, completely elated. "Do you still wonder if you're dreaming?" Gu Qingli suddenly asked just before the movie started. "I'm actually not as unapproachable as you guys think. I'm just a normal person. I won't anymore." Mo Xian shook her head. Gu Qingli's hand was resting on her chair, so at this moment, she finally felt real. "Professor Gu, do you still call me Professor in private?" Gu Qingli turned around and looked at Mo Xian with a smile. "Call me Qingli. I'm not much older than you, but calling me Qingli makes me feel distant," Mo Xian replied. "I'm the 4th oldest child in my family. You can call me Brother Four." Brother Four, Mo Xian accepted it. At least, she was closer to him than Gu Qingli. "Since we've left the university, we should forget about our identities. You're not a student, and I'm not your professor. We are simply a man and a woman. Okay? How could it not be?" Mo Xian thought. At this time, Gu Qingli suddenly removed his hand from the chair and held onto Mo Xian's hand in the dark. Mo Xian was a little surprised. She never expected Gu Qingli's hand to be so long and warm. "I think we can be together," Gu Qingli suddenly said to Mo Xian as the lights flickered on the screen. Mo Xian suddenly felt like she was floating in the clouds. But she quickly pinched the back of her hand. When Gu Qingli saw this, he couldn't help but laugh. "It's true. Xian, you're more dazzling and outstanding than you think. It's not that you're not good enough for me. It's that I'm not good enough for you." "Gu, Brother Four, I just feel like everything happened too quickly, so it didn't feel real." Gu Qingli squeezed Mo Xian's hand. After the film ended, he held onto her hand and slowly walked down the street as he explained, "I'm a person that believes in fate at first sight. You make me feel comfortable and at ease. As for me, as soon as I found out about your feelings, my first reaction was to look for your love letter, not worry about being pestered by you. This means that I've never been against your liking from the start. After spending 2 days with you, I feel like I want to discover the cute side of you. So, I'm willing to be your boyfriend. I'm sorry. You might think I'm being too casual with my suggestion. I simply thought, you've already known me for 4 years, so I don't think you need to know me any better. Gu Qingli laughed. Do you agree with my explanation? Mo Xin couldn't help but nod her head. I'll try to understand you and care about you. But I think if you're my girlfriend, I'll feel more at ease. The same goes for you. To me, you're different from everyone else. Since that's the case, why don't I differentiate you from everyone else from the start? As for Mo Xin, these words were extremely useful. After all, Gu Qingli's words made sense. She understood Gu Qingli well enough. So, the couple went with the flow. However, Mo Xin was already heartbroken. Now that she suddenly had a boyfriend, wouldn't Mo Xin be completely dominated by him? But Gu Qingli never had any intention of dominating Mo Xin. He simply felt that this woman was so obedient that he couldn't help but want to protect and dote on her. Chapter 1255. That night, Mo Xin and Gu Qingli confirmed each other's positions and officially became a couple. After returning to her dormitory, Mo Xin lay in bed and thought about Gu Qingli's face. Her face flushed red and her heart raced. She never imagined that her dream would come true. Gu Qingli was too elegant, like a painting. Yet this man was actually holding her hand. It seemed Mo Xin was destined to have insomnia that night. The next day, Mo Xin woke up with dark circles under her eyes. However, her roommate was quite shocked. Xin, did you have insomnia last night? Why are your eyes so dark? Mo Xin immediately went to the bathroom and looked in the mirror. But she discovered her eyes were swollen and she couldn't face anyone. Gu Qingli still had class that day. Although she really wanted to go, when she saw her ugly appearance, she decided to skip class. Even though she knew that Gu Qingli would be angry. Not long after class ended, she received a phone call from Gu Qingli. The man on the other end of the phone asked calmly, "Why aren't you in class?" "My eyes aren't feeling well. After I came back last night, they were swollen. Come to the library at noon," Gu Qingli said gently. "I'll wait for you there." Mo Xin had no choice but to put on some makeup to cover up the pain in her eyes. As soon as she entered the library and found Gu Qingli, she quickly lowered her head in case he saw her stupid side. "Look up," Gu Qingli said. Mo Xin lifted her head with difficulty and tried her best to open her eyes. She was expecting her image to be destroyed in an instant. But Gu Qingli simply chuckled and stretched out his hands to massage her eyes. "Did you have insomnia last night?" "Uh-huh." Mo Xin nodded. "I couldn't sleep. I was afraid I was dreaming." Gu Qingli chuckled as his hands became even gentler. "Do you want me to whisper in your ear every day that you're not dreaming? It doesn't feel real." Mo Xin lifted her head and looked at her swollen eyes. But Gu Qingli felt that Mo Xin was extremely cute like this. So, he couldn't help but place a kiss on her lips. "Does it still feel surreal? One more kiss, I'll feel more real." Gu Qingli rubbed Tongning's eyes and said, "I'll give you some extra lessons and then let you go home to get some rest. Next time, you're not allowed to skip my lessons. Even if others don't support me, as my girlfriend, shouldn't you support me as well? You don't lack popularity, but I'm missing you." After saying this, Gu Qingli flipped open his textbook and began to tutor Mo Xin. In reality, Mo Xin was more than satisfied. She knew that Gu Qingli was so serious because it was easy for him to fail a subject. He also hoped that Mo Xin would succeed on her first try and no longer have to endure the torture of these engineering courses. Mo Xin looked at the man she loved the entire time. She felt like she had absorbed a lot of energy, and her eyes no longer felt so uncomfortable. During class, Gu Qingli did not take up a single minute of Mo Xian's time. After closing his textbook, he said, "Go home and have a good rest. I won't call you out for dinner tonight." "No, I want to eat with you," Mo Xian immediately said. "Then I'll call you after class." After speaking, Gu Qingli picked up his textbook and patted Imo Zian on the head before he left the library. Meanwhile, Imo Zian was overjoyed. After returning to the dormitory, Imo Zian immediately went to catch up on some sleep. But her dreams were filled with the elegant Gu Qingli. Imo Zian slept until she received a phone call from Gu Qingli. But as she got out of bed, she noticed that her roommate was looking at the information that Gu Qingli had printed out for her. Zian, you didn't print this yourself, did you? That's right. Imo Zian quickly avoided the topic. Professor Gu's notes are on it. Her roommate looked at her suspiciously. You're wrong. After speaking, Imo Zian snatched the documents from Imo Zian's hands and hugged them in her arms. As you know, I have a crush on Professor Gu, so I like to copy him. That's true. If there was a test related to Professor Gu, I'm sure you'd score full marks. Imo Zian's roommate believed Imo Zian's explanation and did not ask further. Meanwhile, Imo Zian found another place to put the documents away. She then tidied up a little and headed out to look for Gu Qingli. The two agreed to meet outside the school. Gu Qingli wasn't dressed in a suit today. Instead, he was dressed in a white shirt and blue jeans. Even his simplest outfit looked extremely charming to Imo Zian. Do you want a tissue? Gu Qingli asked when he saw the glow in Imo Zian's eyes. How dare you laugh at me? Imo Zian said angrily. You must be proud, right? Gu Qingli chuckled and held on Imo Zian's hand. Of course I'm proud to be admired by my girlfriend. Imo Zian lowered her head and looked at the two holding hands. Her heart couldn't help but race. But after a few steps, Gu Qingli suddenly stopped and let go of Imo Zian's hand. Imo Zian didn't quite understand what was going on, but she soon noticed a well-dressed woman standing not too far away with a 7 to 8-year-old boy. Imo Zian had a feeling that this woman was related to Gu Qingli in some way. As expected, as soon as the light turned green, the woman walked over with the boy. She then approached Gu Qingli and asked, Son, do you have time to talk? We don't have much to talk about. After speaking, Gu Qingli grabbed onto Imo Zian's hand again and pulled her away from the mother and son. The two did not say a word on the way home. Only after they were quite a distance away did Imo Zian hear Gu Qingli's voice. Zian, can you accompany me somewhere? Okay, Imo Zian replied. Afterwards, Gu Qingli changed cars and drove Imo Zian to a quiet cemetery. Imo Zian felt a little cold, but luckily, Gu Qingli had his arm around her the entire time. Are you scared? You're here, Imo Zian replied. Soon, the two arrived at Gu Qingli's father's grave. Looking at the photo, Gu Qingli's father looked elegant and refined. No wonder Gu Qingli was so elegant. My father was a sculptor, but when he was 41, he contracted lung cancer. To treat his illness, our family sold all our assets. But who would have thought that the money that saved his life would be used by my mother to invest in stocks? So, in the end, my father died from the pain. From then on, I lived on my own. Because my grades weren't bad, I relied on scholarships to support me until I graduated from university. Afterwards, I made some investments and made a lot of money. I brought you to see my father today, not only because it's his birthday, but also because I want you to understand the hidden side of me. I'm afraid I'll never be able to acknowledge my mother in this lifetime. Can you accept that? Chapter 12:56. Imo Zian looked at the man in the shadows and felt her heart ache. So, she walked over to the gravestone and said to Gu Qingli's father, Hello, Uncle Gu. My name is Imo Zian, and I am Brother Four's girlfriend. I hope you don't mind that I'm small. Don't worry. Your son is an outstanding person. He's amazing and has become a university professor. There are a lot of people that like him, and I am the luckiest one. I hope you like me. After hearing what Imo Zian said to his father, Gu Qingli stretched out his hand and patted Imo Zian on the head. In the darkness of the night, his once lonely heart was suddenly warmed by Imo Zian's company. So, as they walked out of the cemetery, he wrapped his arms around Imo Zian and couldn't help but kiss her on the lips. Imo Zian was surprised. Then, she heard Gu Qingli apologize. I'm sorry, I couldn't control myself. I don't mind, Mo Zian replied in seriousness. You've been lonely for so long. From now on, I will always be by your side. Gu Qingli swept away the sadness in his heart and smiled elegantly. Let's go, I'll take you to dinner. Aren't you going to ask about my family background? Mo Zian asked on the way home. No matter what your family background is, whether you're rich or poor, I could take care of you. So, you don't need to worry, Gu Qingli warned. I am Mo Ting's youngest daughter, Mo Zian replied. As soon as Gu Qingli heard this, he slammed on the brakes and stopped the car on the side of the road. What did you say? I said, I am Mo Ting and Tongning's daughter. Gu Qingli continued to smile, even though he was quite surprised. Logically speaking, Mo Ting and Tongning's daughter should be a famous second-generation celebrity, not an innocent, cute, and student-like girl like Mo Zian. Are you afraid? Why would I be afraid? Gu Qingli asked. Because I'm being chased by paparazzi, Mo Zian said exaggeratedly. You have no idea how many paparazzi are watching my home at all times, but they've protected you well. After speaking, the couple arrived at Gu Qingli's apartment. Mo Zian didn't quite understand what he meant. After parking the car, Gu Qingli said to Mo Zian, come to my place. I'll personally cook dinner for you. They had only been together for a few days, and they were already at each other's place. Wasn't this a little too fast? Little idiot, can you rest assured that you're only going to my place for dinner? Faced with Gu Qingli's teasing, Mo Zian lowered her head shyly. It turned out, he had already seen through her thoughts. Then, the two entered the 27th floor. Meanwhile, Mo Zian assumed that Gu Qingli lived on his own. But, as soon as he opened the door to the living room, Mo Zian spotted a maid pushing an old man. Mr. Gu is back. How's my grandfather? Gu Qingli knelt down in front of the old man. The old man is in good condition, the servant replied. Zian, come in. Gu Qingli dragged Mo Zian over to the old man and said, This is my grandfather. But after my father passed away, he suffered a huge shock and lost his memory after waking up. This is... The maid looked at Mo Zian in surprise. My girlfriend. After speaking, Gu Qingli said to the maid, Auntie Qin, take grandfather downstairs. Don't come up without my permission. Okay, Mr. Gu. After speaking, the maid pushed Elder Gu out of the elevator. After the maid left, Gu Qingli went into his bedroom and changed into a set of home clothes. He then said to Mo Zian, have a look around. I'll go prepare dinner for you. Mo Zian nodded her head and entered her dream man's home. When she saw the trophies and medals in Gu Qingli's study room, she admired Gu Qingli even more. Afterwards, she also spotted a 3D model of a building in Gu Qingli's study room. After Gu Qingli finished preparing the ingredients, Mo Zian was nowhere to be seen. So, he followed her into the study room. When he saw Mo Zian looking at the model, he smiled. Do you like the house here? If I remember correctly, this building is near Hyatt Regency. Uh-huh. Gu Qingli nodded. If you like it, we can move there from now on, huh? I'm a shareholder of this property. I've invested in it, Gu Qingli replied. Not only that, but I've also dabbled in the gaming and cultural industries. Mo Zian knew that Gu Qingli didn't lack money because he was wearing expensive things. But she never expected that he was this rich. He was a young man in his early 30s. He was so rich, yet he was working as a professor at a university. My father had high hopes for me to become a teacher. He hoped that I could work in the education industry. That's why he chose to teach. Then, am I very lucky? I can't believe I have a CEO boyfriend. Not really, but I'm honored that I'm worthy of your identity as a princess. Gu Qingli laughed. Zian, did you know? In this life, it is not easy to meet a person who likes each other and has a suitable family. So, I will treat you with all my heart and work hard to make you my wife as soon as possible. Gu Qingli hugged Mo Zian from behind, and the couple kissed for a while. Afterwards, Gu Qingli let go of her. Wait a little longer. We can come out for dinner soon. Okay? I'll help you with the chores, Mo Zian requested. Okay. When a married couple works together, it won't be tiring. After speaking, Gu Qingli held onto Mo Zian's hand and led her into the kitchen. Just as Mo Zian expected, Gu Qingli was elegant in the kitchen. Even when he was chopping vegetables, she was still mesmerized by him. She couldn't help but smile like an idiot when she saw such a good man. When Gu Qingli saw her smile, he couldn't help but chuckle helplessly. This idiot was hopeless. The best food that Mo Zian had ever eaten in her life was from Mo Ting. Although she was only able to eat her father's cooking because of her mother, Mo Ting's cooking was something that no one in the world could surpass. But Gu Qingli was on a completely different level. Watching him cook was a form of extreme enjoyment. If you're just going to watch and not eat, then I've done it for nothing, Gu Qingli said as he knocked Mo Zian on the head. Hurry up and finish eating. I'll take you back to the dormitory. Wait, Brother Four, you like investing, right? I know a thing or two. Perfect. Mo Zian pulled out Hai Rui's most recent contracts and showed them to Gu Qingli. Help me take a look at these proposals and see if they're worth working with. These are your family's assets. How could you show them to someone else? Are you someone else? Who are you to me? Gu Qingli replied helplessly. It seems I'm not only going to be your teacher, I'm also going to be your secretary. You're tuning in to the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.